Chapter 600 Run Through Water. Chapter 600 Run through water. The nun pulled out a dagger and used it to stab at the bear. A deep gash immediately appeared on the dumb bear's hide, and it ran away whimpering. The nun wasn't interested in chasing the bear. She had seen Yemo get on the motorbike and chased after him immediately. Although she was fast, Yemo had already started the motorbike and left earlier than her. "Stop, or I will kill you right now," Jie Sun called out. She had to expend a lot of the inner chi she had managed to gather after a long time, because it was definitely hard for her to try to chase up to Yemo. She didn't expect this kid to be so sneaky and run at the perfect moment. She regretted not dealing with the motorbike earlier. However, she believed that it would only be a matter of time before she caught up. Suddenly, Jie Sun thought of some details. Had this kid already found out that she wanted to kill him? If not, why would he be running? Also, he chose such a perfect time. Did he know that the bear was coming? But how? Strangely, he had also taken her chi stone away. If he knew everything beforehand, and this was all part of his calculations, then he was too scary. She had to kill someone that's scary, or she would suffer greatly one day. Was he a hidden sect cultivator? Considering everything, it did make sense. He had probably also gotten hurt due to that formation, just like her. Upon realizing it, she hated herself for not figuring things out earlier. The kid might perhaps have even come there for the Ni Luo Sutra. If it wasn't that she had to go back to look for Luo Xian, perhaps she wouldn't even go back to the inner hidden sections. Luo Xian had been the first to have the sutra, so she must have been involved in the other pages going missing. Luo Xian, that horny little bitch, always looked like she didn't understand anything. Yet, as soon as she arrived in the outside world, she was tricked. If she didn't keep the 2 pages for herself, then she probably gave them away. She should have killed those 3 martial sisters from the very beginning. Luo Fei was no saint either. Luo Fei had also wanted the Ni Luo Sutra for the man who tricked her, but she couldn't find Luo Fei now. She really didn't understand why the younger generation was so shallow. Did all of them have to find a man, even daring to lie to their sect for them? Although she lied to her sect too, it was for herself, not for some man. A man was only useful for that business. Was it really worth so much trouble? Yemo heard the nuns howling and sneered he wasn't an idiot. It would be suicide if he stopped now. Yemo had made up his mind to travel to Ninghai as soon as he reached the city and have Beiwei help him. Once he recovered his power, the first thing he would do would be to teach that nun a lesson. But soon Yemo couldn't laugh anymore because the fuel meter of his bike was in the red zone. Yemo looked back and saw that the nun was still chasing him. Although he was worried, he couldn't do anything. Seeing the woman get closer and closer, Yemo knew he would be dead meat if he didn't think of another way. How would he stall for time with this nun? You have the 2 remaining golden pages, right? And it was also you who went to the underground room, right? If you stop now and give it all to me, I can promise I will let you live. However, if you keep running, I will catch up. And the first thing I'll do when I go back will be to kill Luo Xian. Her words almost made Yemo fall off his bike. He didn't think this woman would be so smart. She had guessed everything, but he had no intention of stalling time with her anymore, since she had found out all that if he fell in her hands, he would be dead for sure. The fuel was about to run out, so at a turn, Yemo hit the throttle all the way and used the momentum to charge down a cliff. Yemo knew the nun would catch up soon, so he resisted the pain and crawled down the cliff. He wanted to hide somewhere she couldn't see him and make her think he fell off the cliff, but the pain from his leg combined with his lack of chi made him unable to stop himself, and he really started falling down. Yemo's heart sunk. In Shannomjia, Qingxue had been there to save him, but now he fell below the Duanheng ranges. No one would know about it. Perhaps he was even falling to his death. Splash! Yemo found himself in a pond after falling through branches upon branches. Yemo might not have fallen to his death thanks to things cushioning his fall, but he was covered in wounds. As the cold water cleared his head, Yemo realized that it was only more dangerous in the pond, because that nun would get there very quickly. Looking at the flowing water, Yemo allowed himself to get dragged along by the current. If he was washed away by the water, he might at least still have a chance to live, but if he fell in the nun's hands, he wouldn't have any chance at all. Luckily, she was heavily injured, and it would take her some time to go after him. By that time, he would be washed away by the water. The water kept brushing against Yemo's body as Yemo twirled forward. He kept crashing into rocks in the river, and not a single spot of good skin remained on him. Yemo tried to avoid hurting his eyes and focused himself the best he could. He didn't dare relax at all or let himself fall unconscious, as that would mean certain death. Luckily, his will was very strong, and he managed to stay conscious. After a long while, just when Yemo thought he wouldn't be able to hold on anymore, the water slowed down around him, and he floated to the water's surface. He saw that he was in a not too wide river as the water continued flowing downstream. He had finally made it. Yemo breathed a sigh of relief instinctively, but he then immediately tensed up again. He realized that he couldn't hear much and that, without a doubt, he wasn't able to speak either. The pill was starting to take effect. That damn nun. However, Yemo couldn't do anything about it, and he was still in danger. The nun would find the place in a very short time, so Yemo planned to swim downstream and see if there were any boats. But as Yemo swam a few hundred meters, he knew that wasn't going to work. He had lost a lot of blood and was full of injuries. He couldn't even properly swim, but even if he could, he wouldn't be able to escape from the nun. It wasn't realistic to hide somewhere nearby either. Just when Yemo was unsure of what to do, a loud song was audible in the vicinity. Yemo subconsciously looked around and saw a bamboo raft come from upstream. A man in his 50s on board with 4 baskets full of herbs. The raft was fast and could be a great help to Yemo, but Yemo didn't call for help. Instead, he waited for the right time to dash under the raft and grab the bottom. "Big brother, wait a moment." Just as Yemo stabilized himself under the raft, he heard Jia-sun call out from the bank. Chapter 601. See each other yet not know each other. Chapter 601. See each other yet not know each other. That was really close, Yemo thought. The nun had caught up to him really quickly. He only managed to be a bit faster than her, even while flowing downstream. If it weren't for the raft, perhaps he would have even been caught. "Are you talking to me?" The herb picker slowed down. "Yes. Have you seen anyone nearby?" Jeshua asked. "No, I've been around the area collecting herbs, but I didn't see anyone. Do you need my help?" This herb picker was very kind-hearted. As Yemo began to worry about Jie asking the man to row to the bank, Jie asked, "Big brother, can you carry all of these cradles of herbs yourself?" "Just one cradle must be very heavy, right?" The herb picker smiled. He grabbed 2 cradles in each hand, lifted all 4, and said, "They are very light. Master, would you like me to take you dash?" But before he finished the sentence, he realized that the nun was gone. If she hadn't replied a moment ago, he would have thought it was a ghost. The herb picker shook his head and kept singing as he rafted down the stream. Luckily, the nun was inexperienced and only considered Yemo could be hiding in the herb baskets. An hour later, the raft stopped at a village. Yemo looked up subconsciously and saw that the place he was in was a very remote place. However, a faint smoke rose through the sky, giving off a serene feeling. There were around 20 to 30 families in the village, together with the occasional noises from chickens and dogs, and there was only one road. If your goal was to hide, no one would find you there. The village gave Yemo an indescribable feeling. He subconsciously felt like he shouldn't leave the place and stay there to cure his wounds. "Uncle Wang is back!" A few kids waved to the herb picker. A middle-aged woman just finished washing a basket of clothes, and as she saw the man on the raft, she said, "Old Wang, it seems you found quite a lot today." "Hee hee, I found a wild ginseng today. I don't need to go up for a few months, the man said happily. Let me see. The woman quickly ran up to the man to see the ginseng. Yi Emo couldn't hear the rest of their conversation, and seeing the two leave, he carefully crawled out of the water and onto the banks. He was very weak and felt pain everywhere in his body. He knew that if he didn't find a place to recover, the consequences would be unpredictable. After using all of his power, he struggled to one corner of the village and noticed a house 200 meters away. This house was built on higher ground and seemed a little distant from the rest of the houses in the village. Yi Emo thought for a bit and decided to go to that solitary house. He didn't dare let anyone see him. Who knew if the nun wouldn't stumble upon the village as well? Yi Emo saw from the door that there were no people inside and carefully creeped in. He wanted to find some food and get a change of clothes. His clothes were all in rags, but Yi Emo could only rejoice that he had managed to escape from Jiexian. If it wasn't for that bear, who knew what the nun would be doing to him by then? There weren't a lot of things in the room, but it was clean. Yi Emo almost didn't believe it was just a small house in the middle of nowhere. It was so clean. The thought crossed his mind for only a brief moment as he needed to find food. There was a table and simple chair outside, but no food. Yi Emo walked inside the house and found a bedroom, a bed, and a mat. Yi Emo suddenly felt this layout to be very familiar. Luo Ying's room in Serenity had also been laid out like that. Thinking about Luo Ying, Yi Emo's heart seemed to be wrenched. He didn't want to keep staying there. It just made him think of Luo Ying. But when he turned around, he was shocked as if by lightning. Near the window, there was a stone pool. He knew that pool all too well. It was the one he gave to Luo Ying in the desert. Was this where his master, Luo Ying, lived? Yi Emo wanted to scream Susu, but he couldn't. He felt his body shaking. Susu was here? This was where she lived. Yi Emo stared dumbly at that stone pool and wanted to touch it, but suddenly he couldn't move anymore. It was as though he froze. He had no more thoughts, no more movements, no more pain. The only thing left in his world of view was the stone pool. He wanted to grab it and tell Susu he was back. After a long while, Yi Emo recovered his motion capability and shifted over carefully. Once he grabbed the stone pool, his thoughts froze again. He felt that he wasn't able to control his tears. He had never in a moment in his life been so unable to control his emotions. At that moment, a young woman wearing linen clothes was carrying a small basket and walking towards her house, and when she saw that her door was open, she quickly ran in. When she saw Yi Emo touching the stone pool, she was quite dazed. Extreme anger could be seen erupting from her eyes, as though the most cherished thing in her life had been taken. Yi Emo looked up at the woman. Her hair was coiled up, there was a veil covering her face, and her eyes were clear but angry. Seeing those familiar eyes, Yi Emo froze. Susu, it really was Susu. He wanted to talk, but he couldn't say anything and could only keep tearing. The angry woman saw Yi Emo cry and stopped her anger. Who was this man? Why did he rush into her home and into her room? He was covered in wounds, there were gashes all over his face, and his clothes were ragged. What was this person doing? Why was he crying when she was about to get angry? Why did his eyes seem familiar? What was that emotion she saw in them? Longing? Excitement? Worry? She could feel the man's heartfelt emotions, but she couldn't forgive him for barging into her room. No one in the village would do that, because this was her place. Who are you? Why did you come to my house? Please leave. No, hey, leave. Seeing Yi Emo touch the stone pool again, she finally couldn't resist her anger. Yi Emo couldn't talk and couldn't hear anything, but he could see the anger on her face and suddenly felt dizzy. Chapter 602, Second Sneaky Attack. Chapter 602, Second Sneaky Attack. Yi Emo was too excited and heavily injured, so he finally collapsed the moment he saw Luo Ying. The woman, who had been getting quite angry, saw him faint, and quickly ran to check his injuries. She immediately realized it was because of her. Although she didn't know who the man was, she did feel like they'd met before. The man had been touching that stone pool. Only she and Yi-Mo knew the meaning of it. Was this man Yi-Mo? The woman was dazed. As she remembered the look in his eyes, it really was somehow similar to Yi-Mo. Was he actually Yi-Mo? She unveiled her mask to reveal an out-of-this-world face. It was the very Luoing Yi-Mo had been looking for such a long time. She carefully studied the man on the ground. At least in his current, unconscious state, he didn't really look familiar. She felt his face and didn't notice any marks of appearance-changing tricks. So perhaps she was thinking of Yi-Mo too much and was mistaken? Although she was disappointed, she still carried Yi-Mo out and took out some herbs to put on Yi-Mo's wounds. Then she made a soup and fed Yi-Mo. His body was strong, so he should be fine. Although his dantian was damaged and he was heavily wounded, his strong physique, due to years of cultivation, still showed its properties. It might have been just some normal herbs, but Yi-Mo's body did still digest most of it. He opened his eyes and found himself still in that room, but his wounds were much better. Luoing had saved him, right, Luoing? Had she recognized him in the end? Yi-Mo was shocked and immediately got up to see whether Luoing was there. He had finally found Luoing. He didn't want to lose her again. As Yi-Mo looked up, he saw Luoing being busy outside as she was making a small hut. There was a cauldron nearby with herbs inside. Yi-Mo smiled bitterly. It would seem that Luoing wanted to move him to the other room once he woke up. He was Yi-Mo. He had to tell her somehow. Although he couldn't speak or hear, he could write. Yi-Mo crawled up. Other than feeling a little hungry, he was much better than yesterday. Even if he couldn't recover his dantian and spirit sense without special means, he could still recover to a normal person's level. Yi-Mo stood at the door and looked dazedly at Luoying's back. Yi-Mo didn't dare believe it was real. Watching her slim figure hustling around was a pleasant scene. He didn't dare to interrupt its serenity. He was afraid if he did, it would all vanish into thin air and he would have nothing again. Suddenly Yi-Mo shivered. He saw an extremely cruel pair of eyes staring at him. It was Jie. She was stared at him like a ghost. He immediately felt cold sweat going down his neck. He regretted coming here. He had brought a disaster to Luoing. The nun had actually gotten there. It seemed that she had realized he had nowhere to go except there. Jie smiled coldly to Yi-Mo and looked at Luoing. Her smile was cruel and frosty. Oh no, she hated Luoing too. She probably hated Luoing for saving him and ruining her plans. He wanted to warn Luoing at once, but he couldn't make a sound. Jie's whisk was already in the air, so Yi-Mo ran in front of Luoing without thinking. When she saw Yi-Mo approaching her, she reacted. She was a yellow level after all, and subconsciously took a step back. He didn't manage to cover her. Yet, at this moment, the whisk landed on Yi-Mo's back. However, Yi-Mo wasn't a bear, he couldn't block it. Splurge! Yi-Mo spat more blood. The strike had almost shifted his organs, which made his injuries even worse. When she saw him lying on the ground and the nun behind him, Luoing understood that the nun had been trying to attack her, and the man she saved used his body to block it. Who are you? Why are you attacking us? Luoying's voice was loud. She was really angry. She came from Serenity. Not even the worst person in the sect would attack a stranger for no reason. Furthermore, she didn't even know that nun. You shouldn't have tried to save him. You will have to die too. Jie's tone was bland, as though it was very reasonable. But instead, Jie didn't attack Luoing. She walked to Yi-Mo, wanting to search his body. Seeing this, Luoyu took out a yellow rope and attacked the nun. You've also learnt ancient martial arts, the nun dodged. Please leave now. I won't let you touch him. Luoying detested the nun. Then I'll have to deal with you first. To find a woman as pretty as you in a place like is unusual. Then she attacked again. She didn't even have 1% of her full power, But she thought that although Luoying was cultivating ancient martial arts, she was barely at yellow level. But after fighting with her, she found out that this absurdly beautiful woman was almost the same as her, or even a little stronger. If she hadn't been very experienced and hadn't had a lot of moves, perhaps she would have been defeated already. Luoying rarely fought with people, so she was constantly retreating, but as time went by, she became more fluent in her moves and went from a position of disadvantage to an equal one, and finally to having the upper hand. Jie Xian knew that her inner qi wasn't enough for her to beat her. She really didn't understand why there would that kind of woman be in this distant place. You don't even know him. Why are you helping him? If you let me take him away, I can give you an earth-level cultivation method and a black rising pill. Jie Xian knew she couldn't beat Luoying and decided to use an alternative method. She would take away Yi Mo first, and after the nun completely recovered, come back and kill the woman. Luoying didn't say anything and just kept attacking. She didn't know it was Yi Mo lying on the ground. If she had, she would have tried to kill Jie Xian with all her might, even if she offered her the immortal rising pill. Seeing Luoying ignore her, Jie Xian got also angry and said, "What do you want? Is it worth it for someone you don't know? Let me tell you, that person took my poison. He only has 49 days to live. If you let me take him, he could still survive. However, if he stays here, he will die for sure." Hearing this, Luoying slowed down her attack, and Yi Mo happened to open up his eyes at this moment. His body was burning with pain, but he couldn't ease it either. Yi Mo knew that it wasn't going to end well when he saw Luoying slowing down her attack. Jie Xian lowered her whisk, and Luoying also put away her rope, but Yi Mo was worried. He knew how evil this nun was. She had a dagger. She had withdrawn the whisk, not to make peace, but to sneakily attack Luoying. Luoying had no fighting experience, so she knew nothing about this. No matter whether Jie Xian was going to attack Luoying in his desperation and worry, he actually stood up again and ran to Luoying. No one was allowed to harm her. The same thing happened again, but this time Jie Xian was sneakily attacking Luoying. However, Yi Mo was again 1 second faster than Jie Xian. Chapter 603. I don't want to care, I just want. Chapter 603. I don't want to care, I just want. The dagger pierced into Yi Mo's left shoulder, and Yi Mo, who had barely been able to stand, was catapulted away by the force and fell in front of Luoying, unconscious again. Seeing this, Luoying's heart shook for no reason. She didn't have time to think properly, but she got completely angry at that moment. Yi Mo got hurt twice to save her. She didn't expect this innocent-looking nun to be so sneaky. Without thinking, she used full force as her yellow rope struck Jie Xian's dantian. Jie Xian didn't expect her killing blow to be blocked by Yi Mo again. Was he her nemesis or something? Before she could make another move, Luoying's rope struck her dantian. She couldn't even react, and Luoying dealt a truly hard blow. Even if she had been able to react, she wouldn't have been able to dodge that strike with her current strength. Jie Xian was dazed and spat out blood as well. Her dantian had been damaged even more with that strike, and she knew that if she didn't leave right then, she would never be able to. Her current state was worse than a normal person's. Jie Xian didn't even bother retrieving her dagger and just left. She started considering if Yi Mo had predicted everything beforehand. She suddenly felt cold and shivered. If that young man really had known something beforehand, then he was too scary. If it weren't for the 2 golden pages, she would rather never confront someone as scary as him again. Luoying quickly helped Yi Mo up and didn't chase that nun. Seeing this, Jie Xian breathed a sigh of relief. Her wounds wouldn't recover for at least a few months. Luoying quickly stopped Yi Mo's bleeding and was very worried. Yi Mo felt like his eyelids were extremely heavy as he struggled to open his eyes. He saw a worried look close to his face and thought, Luoying, it really is Luoying. That beautiful face had appeared in his head countless times, and now it finally appeared before his eyes. Yi Mo was shaking with excitement. "Don't move. I will try to save you. And thank you for saving me." Luo Ying didn't know how to save Yi Mo, but she felt his shaking. Yi Mo sensed the nearby Luo Ying and wanted to reach out his hand to feel her face. Seeing Yi Mo's actions, Luo Ying's face changed. She sneered and put down Yi Mo heavily. She was really unhappy. She took out a veil, wanting to cover her face. She just wanted this man to be able to move so that he could leave. Yi Mo suddenly remembered that he had a mask on and that Luo Ying didn't know him. He resisted the strong urge to faint and thought of using the blood on his shoulders to write something. Seeing this, Luo Ying took out a white cloth and threw it in front of Yi Mo, but didn't talk. Yi Mo wanted to look at Luo Ying again, but he knew his power was limited. He could faint at any moment. After writing the words, he finally couldn't hold on anymore and fell unconscious. Luo Ying subconsciously took the cloth, and when she saw the words, her mind blacked out. It was as though all her meridians were frozen and she couldn't move. The cloth had 4 words. "I am Yi Mo, Yi Mo." Really Yi Mo? Why doesn't his face look like Yi Mo's? He must have some masquerading technique applied to him, she thought, other than Yi Mo, who would have helped her block the attacks from that nun. Other than Yi Mo, who would cry while touching the stone pool. Other than Yi Mo, who would cherish her life more than his own. Why was he here? He must have come to find her. If she knew Yi Mo would get so hurt trying to find her, she wouldn't have left his side. Yi Mo! Luo Ying finally reacted and was sure that the person on the ground was Yi Mo. She cried out his name and fell on Yi Mo's body before carrying him away. Her tears flew out like an open dam. She suddenly hated herself. Why did she let the nun who tried to kill him go? If she had fought with her life on the line right from the start, would Yi Mo even have gotten hurt? Luo Ying kept tearing, and she couldn't forgive herself. Suddenly Luo Ying woke up from her tragic feelings. Why was she still crying? She needed to save him. Yi Mo felt that his soul was about to drift away and felt that his spirit was on the verge of collapse. He knew that he was about to die. He tried to force his soul not to drift away because he couldn't die. Suddenly, a cool feeling entered his mind, after which he felt lazy and fell asleep. He was dreaming about how he found Luo Ying, brought her back to Luo Yu and had the biggest wedding he could with her and Ning Qingxue. Everyone in Luo Yu came to wish them well. But when he pulled Luo Ying and Ning Qingxue into their room, Luo Ying told him that she had to go back to Luo Yu continent and couldn't stay with him. He tried to grab her hand, but she went further and further away. "Susu, don't go." Yi Mo cried out and opened his eyes to see Luo Ying watch him with a worried face. She could tell that Yi Mo wanted to talk, yet was unable to say anything. "You're awake. You're finally awake." Luo Ying finally saw Yi Mo open his eyes and hugged him tightly. "Master." Yi Mo called out to her from the bottom of his heart and fell unconscious again. But now the time it took him to wake up again was really short, and when he did, he tried to raise his hand and feel Luo Ying's face. Luo Ying had gotten a lot skinnier. From the worry and tears on her face, Yi Mo knew that she had been enduring more than him when he was injured. As he finally touched her face, he said, "Master, don't worry about me, I'm fine now. Don't cry, but don't leave me again." Although she didn't know what Yi Mo was saying, Luo Ying still nodded, as though knowing what Yi Mo was saying. She helped him up and wiped her eyes, after which she brought over a bowl of congee. She blew on it carefully and fed it to Yi Mo. Then she got some water and helped Yi Mo clean himself, including even brushing his teeth. "Susu, the chicken soup is done. You can feed it to the man now." Susu heard a call at the door. She quickly put down her towel after wiping Yi Mo's face and went out. "Auntie Shi, thank you for these last couple of days. And please thank Uncle Wang for that ginseng too. Without your help..." Luo Ying took the pot from the lady and spoke gratefully. Don't say that, Susu. You have cured a lot of sick people in our village. This little amount of help is nothing. Don't worry, I'll do what you told me to, the auntie said. Meanwhile, Yemo looked at the bed and inside a room, and to his surprise, the room seemed different. It would seem that there were more celebratory colors. Just as he was wondering why, Luoing came in with a blush on her face. Yemo wanted to tell her that they weren't brother and sister at all, when suddenly Luoing came over and embraced Yemo's head. Yemo was lost in her faint aroma. Yemo, I don't want to be your master, and I don't want to be your sister. I just want to be your wife, Luoing said. Then, she suddenly remembered something and let go of Yemo before writing. I don't want to be your master. Let's get married. I already told Anishi, so when you start being able to get off the bed, we can have a wedding. Then her eyes turned red. She knew that Yemo had been poisoned by that nun, but she didn't know what it was. She wanted to take Yemo out as soon as he was better, and if he really couldn't be cured, she would be his wife for 1 month and accompany him in death. Yemo was dazed. He looked at Luoing. Did she know they weren't siblings? But then, why hadn't she gone back to find him? Luoing looked at Yemo and blushed, but she continued writing. Yemo, right now, I don't want to care about anything. I just want to marry you and be your wife. We can just live here. Chapter 604. Let me take care of you in this life. Chapter 604. Let me take care of you in this life. Yemo stared at Luoing surprised. He could only think that she perhaps had realized that she had lied to her. However, that wasn't the case. Yet she still wanted to marry him. The celeb rational colors in the room were what she had set up for the wedding, right? Why was she in such a rush? Couldn't she wait until he got better? He still wanted to bring her back to Luoing and have the wedding there. Do you want to marry me? Luoing wrote down with a hopeful look in her eyes. Yemo stood up a bit and wrote, Master, of course I want to marry you. I'm actually not related to you. She lied. Luoing smiled and leaned on Yemo. She assumed Yemo was comforting her, but it didn't matter to her. Since she had thought it through already, she didn't care. Moreover, she often dreamed that she had met Yemo in their past life. Yemo only had 2 months left to live. She loved him and he loved her. When he died, she would die next to him. It was her greatest fortune to be able to die with Yemo. Don't call me master. I am going to marry you. I want to be your wife, Luoing wrote. Okay, Susu, you're really not related to me. My sister is called Beiwei. She's in Ninghai right now. She's also from Luohong Temple. I will marry you. I want you to be my wife. Yemo could tell that Luoing still had a moral barrier. Really? Luoing looked at Yemo with joy. She stared deeply into his eyes. He wasn't lying to her. Before Yemo could reply, she placed her head on his chest and thanked the heavens. Not only did she get to see Yemo again, but she could also properly marry him. Yemo wiped the tears from her face. He could tell that she had gone through a lot after they got separated. Luoing looked up and greeted Yemo's lips. They kissed. The flower scent made Yemo give in passionately. Their warmth made them forget about time, until Luoing realized that she was losing herself in his arms. She quickly got away from his embrace and looked outside. It was already dark, so she wrote, You've been unconscious for a few days. Auntie, she brought some soup. I'll heat it and feed you. After you've recovered, we can be together. Yemo suddenly remembered Jiexian and wrote, Susu, we need to get out of here, quickly. That old nun won't let us go. She will come back. Luoing smiled and wrote, She's heavily injured and will need at least a few months to recover. By that time, we'll be gone. After reading this, he calmed down and wrote, Susu, in a few months I'll take you somewhere else to get married. However, Susu immediately shook her head and wrote, No, it can't wait. I must marry you immediately. Yemo looked at her. He didn't know why she had to marry him immediately, but he had promised Ning Qingxue that they'd get married together. How could he tell her this? Before Yi Mo could respond, Luo Ying kissed him and went to make food. He looked at her and felt warm inside. Since she wanted to get married, then so be it. He already had a marriage certificate with Ning Qingxue anyway. He would just celebrate it when they got back to Luoyu. The fact that Jiexian was injured was quite convenient. In a few months' time, he could help Luo Ying reach stage 1 and then help him take out the things in his ring. Or he could make Bei Wei come. Yi Mo had just woken up, but he was still too weak. He only took a few sips of the soup and fell asleep again. When he woke up again, it was already noon of the second day in her house. Luo Ying wasn't at home. In just one day, she had managed to cover the room in red, and a huge board with the word Jiawai had been placed on the door. Yi Mo looked at all of this dazedly. It was as though he had gone back to Luoyu, the time when his master used to teach him how to concoct pills side by side. Now he was finally going to marry her after all the hardships they had gone through. In your previous life, you were my master and took care of me. In this life, let me be your master and let me take care of you, Yi Mo thought. He took out a piece of paper and wrote on it the first level of cultivation method on it. In the depths of the Duanheng Ranges, a very shabby-looking nun sat on a rock. Her face was very scary. The things she had planned kept encountering problems. The only good point was that she knew he probably had the golden page. Yet he was too calculative and too lucky. If it hadn't been for that girl, she would be interrogating him right now. However, not only did she not capture him, but she had also lost her chi stone. That stone was very precious and important for achieving Great Heaven Stage, even though she believed she could still reach Great Heaven Stage without it. This time, she was injured heavily. She wouldn't be able to recover completely for a few months, but she only needed a month to recover a third of her power. She had some pills too. Once she recovered to a 30% of her power, that beautiful woman would be no match for her at all. Once she captured her, she would let her know the consequences of offending her. At the same time, the political scene at Hedong was going through a big storm. More and more people had gotten involved, and it was all due to a small case. After realizing the will was fake and the judge had been helping them cover up, Li Chunxing got involved to deal personally with the case. But although the results hadn't come out yet, everyone in the political scene knew that Li Chunxing's future wasn't going to be bright. Li Chunxing sat in his office, smoking with a frown. He wouldn't have thought that such a simple case could bring so many problems. However now, not only could he not contact GMO, but the Beijing Li family couldn't help him either because they couldn't even help themselves at the moment. Li Chunxing's phone calls and actions were all being monitored. Chapter 605 Wedding. Chapter 605 Wedding Lean Village was located at the foot of a mountain in the Duanheng Ranges and was completely segregated from the world. There were only about 30 families there. The government had been planning on developing tourism there, but due to some issues, it was never put into action. The area was very beautiful. There were mountains and rivers all around. The Lean River continued on into the New River, and further upstream from the village, there were valleys that had a lot of natural herbs. They were the main source of income for the people in this village. Today, the village was in a celeb rational vibe because the very person who had taught the people how to recognize herbs and taught them all sorts of medical knowledge, Susu, was going to get married. Susu is really pretty, like a goddess. Yeah, I've seen a lot of celebrities on TV, but none as pretty as Susu. But doesn't her husband look pretty average? He doesn't fit with Susu. Why do you care? It's fine as long as Susu likes him. That young fella is very nice. After Susu was reunited with Yi Mo, she took off her veil, and everyone in the village was shocked by her otherworldly beauty. Yi Mo was also extremely excited. He could finally walk together with Luo Ying hand in hand. The people in the village were genuine and didn't have all sorts of rules and customs like in the city. They just gathered to celebrate and wished the newlyweds good luck. Yi Mo and Luo Ying liked that. After a day of celebration, the village finally calmed down. Yi Mo walked into a small room with Luo Ying, who had her head covered with a red veil. This was the place Luo Ying had lived in for 2 years, and now it would be the place she would be living with Yi Mo. The big red candles brightly shone in the room, and Yi Mo excitedly unveiled Luo Ying. Under the bright red candles, Luo Ying's face seemed even prettier as she had that sense of embarrassment that made Yi Mo lose his mind. "Susu, you're truly beautiful," Yi Mo couldn't help but want to say. Although his mask had been washed away by Luo Ying with herbs, the poison was still in his body. Although Yi Mo didn't make any sound, Luo Ying knew what he wanted to say. She felt Yi Mo's hand swish around and felt a little shaky. The inexpressible feeling of love was seizing her. "Hold on, Dash." Although Yi Mo couldn't hear her demand, he saw Luo Ying wave out the candles. She knew she would be sleeping with Yi Mo that night, but she felt too embarrassed with the red candles burning. Although the candles were out, the light from outside still shone in from the window, giving a glow to their eyes, which were expressing the pair's deep love for each other. Luo Ying's soft body and faint aroma made Yi Mo unable to hold himself back. Soon, he saw Luo Ying with most of the clothes she had worn before gone. Luo Ying was like a young lamb squirming in his arms. She only knew how to hug him tightly and let him do whatever he wanted. Although he really wanted to do it, Yi Mo thought about her cultivation. He had written the first level of a cultivation method for her 3 days before, and it had become clear that Luo Ying did indeed have a spiritual root. He believed that with the help of the Spirit Stone, she would be able to reach stage 1 within a month. But if he took her virginity now, would it affect her cultivation? If it was due to him that she couldn't reach foundation establishment, then what would he do? Feeling Yi Mo slow down and stop, Luo Ying embarrassingly looked up at Yi Mo in confusion. Yi Mo couldn't use a mind-cleansing chant on himself at that moment, but he loved Luo Ying, and for his love, he could resist any hardship and enticement. "I'm afraid that if I were to take your virginity today, it will be hard for you to reach foundation establishment. How about we wait until you reach foundation establishment state, and then we dash." Yi Mo just managed to write half of his message before Luo Ying took the paper away. Luo Ying shook her head and didn't say anything, but her body was telling Yi Mo that she just wanted to be with him, that nothing else was important. She knew that if the poison remained in Yi Mo's body, nothing else would matter anyway. Without the mind-cleansing chant, Yi Mo could no longer control his feelings for Luo Ying. With some light creaks from the bed, a harmonious scene appeared under the silver moonlight. Luo Ying's body was like a hot stream, getting more and more sensitive with Yi Mo's charge. She couldn't help but moan as her hand grabbed Yi Mo's back tightly. It was a little painful at first, but as Yi Mo slowly kept moving, she didn't want to leave his arms. She wanted to grab Yi Mo's back tightly, but she was afraid of hurting him. The only thing she could do was embrace Yi Mo as much as he could handle and give her everything to him. It might have been only Luo Ying's first time, but Yi Mo wasn't exactly experienced either. He embraced Luo Ying tightly, and he could feel her heart and body shake in pleasure just like him. It was as though at that moment he and Luo Ying had become one. MMM. Luo Ying made a final long moan in Yi Mo's arms and grabbed his back even tighter. In Luo Ying's heart, Yi Mo was her everything. Yi Mo made her not only feel love, but also longing. Now her body was his, and his warmth was still inside her. In the end, as the night progressed, the creaking of the bed stopped. Yi Mo lovingly kissed Luo Ying in his arms before they descended into the realm of dreams together. The call of the rooster broke the silence of the village. Luo Ying opened her eyes and looked at Yi Mo with gentle eyes. She should have married him earlier, although it was a little late, but at least she still did it. She carefully touched Yi Mo's face and suddenly thought, How could 30 days of being together ever be enough? She wanted 300 years, 3,000 years, 30,000 years, or even an eternity with him. For the first time ever, Luo Ying started hating a person to the bones. She didn't even hate Jing she as much as that Jie Xian. If it weren't for her, she would get to live with Yi Mo forever and give birth to his children. No, she had to find a cure, help her husband cure the poison, and live with him forever. The first thing Yi Mo saw when he woke up was Luo Ying busying about. Even though she was a yellow-level middle-stage ancient martial artist, she still walked a little uneasily after her first night. Yi Mo got up and felt warm at heart. He just watched Luo Ying silently. No matter what had happened before, she was his wife now. He needed to love and protect her. Chapter 606, 2 Lifetimes. Chapter 606, 2 Lifetimes. Time flies when you're happy. They'd been married for almost 10 days. Yi Mo could feel that Luo Ying constantly had a faint sense of worry, but he didn't want to break the peaceful life they had, so he didn't ask what was going on. But today he felt something wasn't right with Luo Ying. "I want to go and find out if there are herbs in the mountain that could heal you." She had noticed that Yi Mo already knew something was going on, so she just told him before he could ask. "Do you want to find Jie Xian the nun? You think she has the cure?" Yi Mo asked. At this point, they didn't even need to write. They only needed to look at each other's lips to know what they were saying. Sometimes, even a glance or action could let them understand each other. Luo Ying was dazed. She had understood Yi Mo's glance. It was as though he knew what she was thinking, but didn't agree. "But you're poisoned." "Okay. I won't go, I'll stay with you," Luo Ying said, and then walked to him so she could brush his hair. She knew that Yi Mo didn't want her to go. She wanted to say that they only had little more than 10 days left. Yet she felt this was far from enough. She wanted to be with Yi Mo forever. Yi Mo embraced her and said, "Dummy, my poison isn't fatal. I just can't speak or hear. Once you reach stage 1, you can cure me." "What? It's not lethal." Luo Ying was dazed. Suddenly fortune was on her side. She even suspected she had read Yi Mo's lips incorrectly, so she asked again. "I said that if you reach stage 1, you can cure me." Yi Mo felt her excitement and caringly wiped her tears as he repeated his words. Luo Ying hugged him tightly with joy. After a while, she looked up and said excitedly, "I'm already at stage 1, She wanted Yi Mo to tell her how she could cure him, but she didn't know how to express it. Yi Mo was shook. He hadn't expected Luo Ying to be able to reach stage 1 in less than half a month. Although it was also due to the spirit stone, one could see that she was indeed quite skilled. Yi Mo quickly took out a pen and a piece of paper. He wrote down how to release spirit sense and take things out from the storage ring. When Yi Mo held the bottle of Lotus Life pill, he was actually very calm. For the first time, he felt that everything else was unimportant next to Luo Ying. The paradise he had lived in for the past 10 days made him almost forget there was poison left in his body. With her help, Yi Mo put a pill in his mouth. This pill melted immediately and turned into a spring nourishing his organs and Dan Tian. The damaged Dan Tian repaired rapidly. Luo Ying watched Yi Mo sit down with his legs crossed and recover, but the wait made her anxious. She didn't dare leave him alone and didn't even mind the water boiling outside. She felt her heart beating rapidly. If he recovered, she could stay with him forever. The binge share grass poison wasn't directly affected by the Lotus Life pill. It was just pushed out of his body by his own qi. His external injuries had already been healed under Luo Ying's care, and now his internal injuries were gone too. Qi gradually started to gather, and Yi Mo could clearly feel his power rising until it recovered to its original state. Luo Ying saw some kind of white mist rise from the top of Yi Mo's head with black qi in it. She realized that Yi Mo must have pushed outside the poison. Then her heart felt like it was going to burst out of joy. She thanked the heavens for letting Yi Mo be all right. A day passed quickly, and when Yi Mo opened his eyes again, it was already dark. Luoying sat in front of him, staring without blinking. He could tell that she had been staring at him the entire day, worried about him. Susu, sorry to make you worry. Yi Mo got up and gently cuddled her. She couldn't hold it anymore and cried out in his arms. The torture was finally over. She could hear Yi Mo's voice now. That meant he was well. I thank the heavens that you're all right, Luoying said piously. Yi Mo kissed her. I should be thanking you, it's you. Luoying placed her finger on his lips and stopped him. She pointed at the crescent moon. We got married on a full moon. I really liked it, but today I like it even more. Then I'll take you up to see the moon, okay? Wow, we're really in the sky. Luoying reacted. It felt really familiar, but it was also unimaginable at the same time. We're in the sky right now. Susu, in my dreams from a past life, you were my master, and you took me flying in the sky like this. In this life, I will take you to fly. In a previous life, you taught me everything to take care of myself. In this life, let me take care of you and give you everything, Yi Mo said. His words got deeply etched into Luoying's heart. She murmured, past life, this life. Was there really a past life? I keep dreaming about flying in the sky too, is that real? She caressed Yi Mo's face, fearing that it was all a dream, but he was concrete and real. The village below was peaceful, while she and Yi Mo welded into the dark sky. Whispering in her ear, Yi Mo told her everything about cultivation and what happened after she left. When they returned to the room again, Yi Mo had a sense of familiarity. It was as though she really had taught Yi Mo cultivation in his past life. She had taught him how to concoct pills, medicine, and language. Susu, where did you go after leaving Serenity? When I went to the desert, I found that you had already taken the stone pool away. Yi Mo kept asking all sorts of questions. Luoying touched his hair and said, When did you start liking me? Was it due to the memories of your past life from your dreams? Do you like the me from my previous life or this life? Yi Mo looked at her bright eyes and said slowly, Perhaps it wasn't a dream, perhaps it was real. The time you were my master, I respected and loved you, but I didn't dare desecrate you. When I realized that was love, it was already too late. It wasn't until that day in the desert that I got to see you again, when you saved me. When I was about to die, you woke me up with your blood, and same. When you carried me to escape from the bugs in the desert and took me to hide in the caves, I knew I couldn't forget about you because I also had my blood in your body. When you gave me that well of water, I knew I had fallen in love with you. When you chased me to Serenity and walked the Sword Mountain for me, I knew I couldn't be without you. I went everywhere afterwards, yet not knowing where I should go. I wanted to secretly visit you, but I was afraid I wouldn't be able to leave after seeing you. One day, Auntie, she brought me here and I settled. I stayed at the highest place in the village with the hope of seeing you one day. I would stand here every day for an hour, looking for you. Sometime after that, I couldn't resist my longing for you, so I went to the desert and took back the stone pool you gave me. Chapter 607, Return to Jutong. Chapter 607, Return to Jutong. Their voices gradually died down as the two just sat there next to each other until the rooster called again. It's dawn, huh? Yi Mo muttered subconsciously. They had sat there for a whole night. Luoying laid in Yi Mo's arms and didn't want to move. Yi Mo suddenly thought of something and took out a small bag for Luoying and said, Susu, the sect leader of Serenity, told me to give this to you. I didn't open it, so have a look what it is. Luoying took the bag and opened it. There were 2 books and a yellow cloth with a date written on it within. What are these letters? I've never seen them before, Luoying said strangely. Yi Mo took it and was dazed. It was actually the language of Luoyu continent. How could that have found its way to Serenity? This is your cultivation method, the same as the one I wrote for you, Yi Mo said. Huh. Then that means what happened in the dream is all real. Luo Ying took the book shakily. Yemo nodded. It is. He just didn't understand how this could appear on Earth and be acquired by the sect leader of Serenity. The date written on the cloth was April 26th, such a familiar date. Indeed, it was the date Yemo transmigrated. Look at this book. Luo Ying gave the other book to Yemo. Yemo flipped through a few pages and felt a heavy feeling of love. As Luo Ying noticed that, she asked, "What does it say?" Yemo answered softly, "Susu, it's your diary from your past life. A lot of things are exactly as I dreamed they would dash." Luo Ying quickly took the book and said, "I'll give it to you when I'm done." Yemo nodded. "Perhaps you can remember some things through it. It doesn't matter if you show me or not." Luo Ying blushed. "I'll let you see for sure. I just don't know if I said anything bad about you in it. You need to teach me this language, though." Yemo said softly again, "Of course, like I said. In our last life you taught me. In this life I will teach you. A lot of the words I know were taught by you. But isn't that probably just in your dreams?" "No, I believe it really happened." Seeing Luo Ying put the book away, Yemo suddenly said, "I'll make a storage ring for you later on." He had all the materials already, and Yemo attached a diamond to it too, a blue diamond. He felt a little troubled about how to tell Luo Ying about Ning Qingxue, but luckily he still had a lot of time. The ring was made quickly, and Yemo put some necessary recovery and cultivation pills in it before handing it to Luo Ying. Luo Ying looked at the ring, and her expression was the same as Ning Qingxue's. The joy in her eyes was unquenchable. The blue diamond and storage capability weren't the main attraction. The main thing was that Yemo had made it for her. Help me put it on." Luo Ying's voice was shaky. Although she hadn't lived in the city for too long, she still knew what a ring meant. Yemo gently put the ring on for Luo Ying. Looking at a Luo Ying unable to stop fiddling with her ring, Yemo's heart was filled with warmth. He didn't disturb Luo Ying and took out his phone. He was going to call his sister and Qingxue to tell them he was all right. But as soon as he opened his phone, there was a large amount of texts. Some were from Ning Qingxue and his sister, but most of them were from Li Chunxing and Shi Xiu. It was all about the case in Jutong City. Cheng Changhui had been taken away, but at the same time, Li Chunxing said that he needed him urgently. Shi Xiu's text said the same too. Yemo quickly called them, but both of their phones were shut down. Yemo texted Beiwei, Qingxue, and Yiling first. He decided to go back to Jutang and see what was going on. How could Li Chunxing not deal with such a simple case and get dragged into some mess instead? What happened, Marshal Brother? Luo Ying found that it sounded much better to call Yemo Marshal Brother. Yemo was okay with it and said, "Two of my friends in Jutong are in trouble. I need to go see. I'm sorry, Susu. I wanted to stay with you for a few more days." Luo Ying felt the ring and smiled. "There's no need to say sorry between us. I'll go wherever you go. I have nothing keeping me here. I'll just take that stone pool away. Also, there's no point in leaving so much money in my ring. I'll give it to Uncle Wang and Auntie Shi for them to split amongst the villagers. The ginseng you ate was from them, and the money for the wedding was also all paid by them." Yemo smiled and grabbed her hand. "No need. I still have more." It was mostly USD in his ring, though, and only about 5 million renminbi. He gave more than 1 million to Luo Ying and took out the rest. The people in the village were very innocent, and the village leader divided the money equally. When Luo Ying and Yemo left, everyone in the village went to send them off. They are all good people. Luo Ying and Yemo had walked for very long already, yet they could still see people waving their hands at them. "Because you're an immortal goddess," Yemo smiled and said. Yemo called Lu Lin as soon as he came to Jutong City, but he couldn't reach her either. Yemo decided to buy some clothes for Luoing with her and then go to Juha Corporation. He didn't believe that a province-level senator would lose a fair battle. One pale yellow dress with a necklace and ring Yemo had given her maid Luoing feel like an ethereal goddess. Everyone in the clothing store was dominated by Luo Ying's out-of-this-world beauty. Perhaps they had never even seen anyone as pretty as Luo Ying before. "Wait for me for a bit. I need to go buy some things in the supermarket." Luo Ying saw that Yemo was on a call and said to him. Yemo understood that she probably wanted to buy some women products. So he didn't follow and just waited for her at the door, thinking about what might have happened. Might you be, Yemo?" An abrupt voice stopped Yemo's train of thought. A man in his 30s halted before him, and a girl, dressed very revealingly, stood next to him. She looked to be somewhere in her 20s, and she wasn't ugly, but Yemo didn't like her makeup. The man seemed familiar. Yemo soon remembered who he was. He had been his classmate in Ninghai, Wang Chu. Wang Chu was very close to Shirxiu. In fact, he was one of Shirxiu's few close friends. Well, although Shirxiu didn't have many friends in university, he still knew more people than Yemo. "Wang Chu, why are you here?" Yemo asked strangely. You're really Yemo? No wonder you looked so familiar. You changed so much that I almost didn't recognize you. Shirxiu asked me to come over. He ran into some trouble, and I happened to be working in Jutong, so here I am," Wang Chu said. Just as Yemo wanted to ask about Shirxiu's situation, Luo Ying's angry voice sounded. Yemo immediately went to her. Chapter 608. We're Friends. Chapter 608. We're Friends. Miss Hong Kong Danyu Entertainment is top-notch in the industry. With your looks and our expertise, I'm sure you can become famous all over the world. Even Hollywood would easily be within your grasp. A bald fat man was talking on and on. Yemo wanted to laugh. "No need. We're not interested in what you're talking about, so move aside." "Let's go, Susu. People like this can be found everywhere. No need to mind them." Yemo helped Luo Ying carry her things and pulled her away. "Don't leave. I'm a shareholder of Hong Kong Danyu Entertainment. Friend, your girlfriend is this pretty. It'll be such a waste if Dash." The fat man was very agile and ran in front of Yemo. Luo Ying frowned. She had already rejected, yet the man still persisted. Yemo grabbed the fat man and threw him away onto a dumpster. The trash came out a bit and splashed across the man's face. What Yemo wouldn't have expected was that as soon as he left, the shareholder guy immediately took out his phone and called someone. "Uncle Tong, I found a goddess-like beauty in Jutong. Definitely goddess level. I'm sure she's the prettiest girl in China. Yes, as long as she joins our company will dominate the world. Wang Chu, take me to where you guys are meeting. I haven't seen Shirxiu in a long time." Yemo pulled Luo Ying over to Wang Chu and said. Wang Chu was dumbfounded looking at Luo Ying and reacted only after a long time. "Okay, let's go." He was truly shocked. The woman with Yemo was way too beautiful. "Yemo this is?" Wang Chu asked. Yemo smiled. "My wife Luo Ying. Susu, this is my former classmate, Wang Chu." Luo Ying didn't like to talk to strangers and just nodded. The girl beside Wang Chu was also shocked. To be honest, she had never seen a girl as pretty as Luo Ying. Yemo looked very ordinary. How did he get such a good girl? Her confidence was shattered to pieces in front of Luo Ying. "Let's go then. By the way, when did Shirxiu come to Jutong?" Yemo asked. "It's right over there. Wine City 613. Shirxiu just told us to wait for him there. He'll be there soon, and I don't know when he came over either." Wang Chu pointed at a luxurious restaurant not far away. "Then let's go," Yemo answered. Wang Chu walked over to Yemo and said in a quiet tone, "Shirxiu seems to have gotten into quite some trouble this time. We want to help him, but the enemy is pretty powerful. If Waisai..." Yemo shook his head. He knew what Wang Chu was thinking. He meant that if Yemo was still part of the Yi family, then things would be good. Yemo didn't know Wang Chu much, but from what Shirxiu had said, he should be quite decent. However, apparently he wouldn't sacrifice himself to help Shirxiu. Yemo also suspected that Wang Chu had stopped staying in touch with Shirxiu after graduation and only started contact again after Shirxiu became a mayor. The most luxurious room in the restaurant was 613, but Shirxiu would never be able to get that room. So he was in room 616 together with some acquaintances. When Yemo and company arrived, one clean-looking man just scanned Luoying once, but almost everyone else kept their eyes on Luoying. There was even a passionate fire in the eyes of two of them. Yemo immediately didn't like this. What sort of friends had Shirxiu brought? Luoying was clearly behind Yemo, yet they still looked at her like that. With the 6 people already there and the 4 who just arrived, the gathering consisted out of 10 people. There were 2 more whom Yemo knew, but they hadn't been in the same class, though. "Hello, I'm Shuiguang, Shirxiu's blood brother. You are." The clean-looking man walked up to Yemo and shook his hand. Yemo had heard of this name before. Shuiguang was very loyal. Shirxiu had talked about him quite often. "I'm Yemo, Shirxiu's friend." Yemo shook hands with the man and smiled. "Oh, so you're brother Emo. I've heard about you more than once." Shuiguang looked overjoyed from the bottom of his heart. Shirxiu had told him that if Yemo came, he would be able to help a lot. Yemo said, "Shirxiu is my friend, so since you're his friend, just call me Yemo." "Okay, then Yemo it is. I won't be too polite," Su Guiyang said. Due to Shuiguang's obvious respect, the other people in the room got up and also greeted Yemo. Shuiguang was a middle-level manager in Hefeng City. There were 2 others who also worked in Jiutang, and 1 person who had opened a trade company in Jitang. His name was Mi Fong. One rather tall man was called Lu Yahua, and he worked at Jiutang Hospital. The oldest man present was in his 30s and was called by Yoshi. He was Shirxiu's hometown friend. "Why is Shirxiu still not here, even though he invited us here?" Lu Yahua commented uncomfortably. "Who knows? Oi, Shuiguang, what happened to Shirxiu anyway?" Yoshi joined. Yemo sneered. He knew these people would be too unreliable to expect any help from them. "Okay, I'll tell everyone the truth," Shuiguang said. "Shirxiu ran into some trouble. I believe everyone knows about the Jiutang will case dash." Before Shuiguang finished, Yoshi interrupted. "Guiyang, we're all just small fry. How can we help that? Isn't Shirxiu slapping our face, asking us to help?" "Yoshi, how can you talk like that? How much did Shirxiu help you when he was mayor? And you guys come from the same town. If you don't want to help, then leave. We don't need you." Shuiguang was mad. Okay, stop arguing. Although some words aren't nice to say, reality is what it is. We can't even so much as touch fights at that level, but we can still do some small things. How about Guiyang? You tell us your plan, and we see what we can do. My business isn't big, and I might not be able to help much, but I can at least help with some money. Mi Fong saw everyone start arguing and tried to calm them down. Yemo sighed. Other than Shuiguang, who was truly trying to help Shirxiu, everyone else had just come for show. Suddenly the door opened, and Shirxiu came in, having a few slap marks on his face. "Everyone leave. I'm being hunted by the mafia. Quick!" Shirxiu only said one sentence before stopping. He had seen Yemo. "Yemo, how come you're here?" Shirxiu finally felt assured. He had only called these people to help because he had no other choice. He wanted to ask them to investigate some things and never expected them to actually help him save Li Chunsheng. Yemo walked over and patted Shirxiu's shoulder and said, "Don't worry about anything. Just lowly tell me what happened." "I'm sorry, Yemo. All I do is make you worry every single time," Shirxiu said dejectedly. Yi Emo smiled. Don't say that, we're friends. When I'll be in trouble, you'll help me too. Shi Xiu was about to tear up. He had called nearly 20 friends, but only a few had come. Yet Yi Emo came every single time he needed help the most. Chapter 609. As if you dare to shoot. Chapter 609. As if you dare to shoot, what's going on? As Bayoshi heard that the mafia was after Shi Xiu, he immediately got up worriedly. After it really got through to him, he pulled up a girl that was next to him and said, "We still have something to do, so we'll be going." As soon as he walked to the door, Bayoshi was kicked back in. At the same time, a voice sardonically spoke from the door. "Since you already came, don't think about leaving. My big brother said for you to wait here. He will be here very soon." "This has nothing to do with me." Bayoshi wanted to argue, but no one listened to him. "Yi Emo, who is this?" Shi Xiu was asking about Luo Ying. Yi Emo smiled and held Luo Ying's hand. "This is my wife, Luo Ying. Susu, this is Shi Xiu, my former classmate and my friend." "Oh, nice to meet you. Sorry for dragging Yi Emo into my trouble all the time." Shi Xiu realized only then. Anyway, who else other than Yi Emo deserved a woman that pretty? "Hello," Luo Ying smiled plainly. Her whole attention was on Yi Emo, and she only replied because Yi Emo introduced Shi Xiu as his friend. Otherwise, she wouldn't want to talk to any of these people. She didn't like talking to strangers. Yi Emo ignored the two at the door and told Wang Chu to close the door. Then he said, "Everyone better sit down for now. Shi Xiu, tell us what happened to you." Shi Xiu sighed. "Brotherly told me about the case in Jiutang City, so I wanted to help. Originally, there weren't any problems after the second hearing, but because young Master Hung came, it became a big problem." "Young Master Hung, who is that?" Yi Emo asked in surprise. Shi Xiu shook his head. "We aren't sure about what his full name is, but Brother Chunqing said that he might be from the Dai family. His power is very big. For someone at his level, Brother Chunqing's local power means nothing to him." Yi Emo had heard of this Dai family. Shi Xiu had told him about them last time. Ever since the Song family and Qiao family left Beijing, the Dai family and Qiu family rose up. But even if this young master was from the Dai family, the Li family should have no reason to fear him. How come they were attacking Li Chunqing? Yet the Li family still didn't do anything. Li Chunqing should be considered a part of the Li family by now. As Xue Guiyang heard this, he asked, "Since even Brother Li doesn't have the status to afford being enemies with this young master, why is the guy intervening with something like the Jiutang case? The last time Brother Chunqing talked to me, he said that young Master Hung had a new lover, Yizhu's daughter. Yizhu is Yi Jiuhe's second brother." As soon as young Master Hung intervened in the case, news of Brother Chunqing being corrupt started to appear. This isn't the most important issue. The most important thing is that some rumors that Yi Jiuhe's death was related to Brother Chunqing also started to appear, saying that the reason why he was intervening in such a case was because he had an affair with Yi Jiuhe's wife. Even though all these rumors about Brother Chunqing are fake, he can't do anything about them. Shi Xiu explained dejectedly. Yi Emo frowned. Even if the guy was trying to suck up to his father-in-law, he should at most be trying to help them win the case. Why would they go so far as to challenge the bottom line of politics? No matter how big Dai Heng's origin was, he wouldn't just wrongly accuse a provincial official for no reason. Yi Emo felt that there was more to this matter than meets the eye. Shi Xiu continued. Afterwards, it was also said that back in Hefeng he attacked the Yuan family because the Yuan family didn't divide their dirty money properly with him. How would he know so much about the Yuan family otherwise? Or so the rumors say. After Yi Emo heard all this, he understood that things were far from simple. Shi Xiu then said, "The day Brother Chunqing was taken away, he sent me a letter telling me to leave immediately. I knew things had gotten bad, so I left Shitong with Xiaoten that night. I knew Brother Chunsheng wanted me to find you. What about the Li family? Did Li Chuang not say anything? Yi Mo asked. The Li family was pretty much the most powerful family in China, although Li Chuang wasn't the most powerful of the young generation. He was definitely in the top 3. With Li Chuang to help Li Chunsheng, how could Li Chunsheng be brought down by some Dai family? Not to mention that Li Chunsheng was on the just side. Shirxiu's side. I heard that something happened to Li Chuang. I don't know what exactly, though. Although I don't know what's going on with the Li family, but they are no longer the number 1 family in China. The Dai family and Qiu family joined together to take down the Li family, and they have the support of most people in Beijing. Yi Mo wasn't interested in stuff like that, but Li Chunsheng was a good guy and he had been helping Yi Mo, so he had to intervene. How is he now? How is the case? And why are you being hunted by gangsters? Yi Mo asked. I couldn't contact Brother Chunsheng, so I came to Jiutang to collect evidence for his sake. But I couldn't do it myself, so I called some friends for help. Because I needed the help from a lot of people, I was short on money, so I went out to borrow some. Those people lent it to me only yesterday, yet now they want me to pay back with a 10-fold interest. There was no way I could outtake that much, so I ended up being hunted. Lu Lin is probably locked up. Brother Chunsheng told me to look after Yi Yan and Yi Xiaodai, but I didn't find them. Shirxiu, did you borrow from Blackhead? Lu Yahua suddenly asked. Shirxiu nodded, that's right. Lu Yahua's face suddenly changed. Shirxiu, you brought trouble to all of us. Blackhead reigns supreme in Jiutang. Those who borrow from that guy all lose a few layers of skin. How could you borrow from him? Shut up, Lu Yahua. You and Baiyoshi are both the same. Shirxiu asked you for help. So if you can't help, then shut up. Shui Guiyang said angrily. Bang! Suddenly the door was kicked open as an African-looking guy with a cigarette in his mouth and a tattooed head walked in, followed by his cronies. Shirxiu, you're very bold, making me come personally to collect your debt. The black man suddenly stopped talking when he saw Luoing sitting next to MOF *Thimi. There's actually such a pretty lady here, ha ha ha! Then the man walked to Luoing. Everyone looked at Luoing with worry, but Shirxiu was very calm. Yi Mo sneered and kicked the man onto his chest. The man was kicked back and spat out blood before crashing into the wall. You! Kill H-! He spat more blood. He felt his body burning, and his organs were shattered. He was so angry that he wanted to kill Yi Mo, but he didn't dare say anything else as there was a gun pointed at his head. Everyone stopped at the sight of the gun. The black man reacted quickly and snarled. As if you dare to shoot Dash before he finished, Yi Mo had already fired. Blood splashed out from the guy's forehead as he had an expression of disbelief. Chapter 610. Coming here with initiative. Chapter 610. Coming here with initiative. You really dared to shoot. I will kill your entire Fami Dash. A ferocious-looking man behind Blackhead moved forward. He was Blackhead's right hand. He pulled out a sword. But before he could finish, Yi Mo fired again. Yi Mo sneered. He could tell that many lives had been lost in their hands. Then Yi Mo looked at the remaining people and asked, Anyone else wants to talk? Hurry up, I still have a few bullets left. He didn't need a gun to kill these people, but he had used it because he didn't want trouble. He couldn't use fireballs to kill them all, and using a gun was much easier. Moreover, he had license to kill. He just didn't want to cause a slaughter there, so he only killed a few of them to warn them. Of course, the main point was to get the situation even more tense. If they didn't respect him, he wouldn't feel guilty for killing them. Li Chunsheng was helping him, and he had appeared in Jiutang a few days ago. He couldn't believe that they didn't know he was involved. If they had known this and still attacked, their actions were very questionable. Yemo was sure that the higher-ups in China knew that he was closely related to Luo Yu, if not responsible. Even with this information, they still hadn't considered him and just intervened in his case. It was no longer a fight for power. It was more serious than that. It could result in an international discord. No matter how powerful the Qiu and Dai family were, they couldn't unsee this. Sure, Xiu's friends also looked at Yi Mo in disbelief. That bunch of phonies tried to get out of there quickly. Yi Mo sneered. Did I say you could leave? They shook and stopped. The scene fell into an eerie silence. Clap, clap. Almost everyone turned to look at where the clapping came from. A man in his 30s was standing at the door. Exciting. Too exciting. It was like a circus. Just 2 shots and no one dares to say anything. It's been a long time since I've seen someone as bold as you. The man's lips were very thin. 2 bulky men, more than one. 9 tall, stood before him. They were protecting the man. They each had a pistol, and they also were countless times more skilled at shooting than Yi Mo. He didn't mind. Yellow level middle stage? Yi Mo immediately could tell the man's power. The 2 men protecting him were also at yellow level middle stage. So he was only at yellow level middle stage. But he dared to act up in front of him. Furthermore, that man wasn't really talented. He had reached yellow level middle stage when he was already in his 30s. What caught Yi Mo's attention wasn't the man's power, but the 2 people next to him and his guards, a man and a woman. The man wasn't tall and was in his 50s, but he was at Earth level peak stage. Judging by the Qi wave, he was on the same level as Zhang Jingxia. What caught Yi Mo's attention was the woman. She was only in her 20s, but she had a very vibrant and attractive face. Yi Mo was shocked at the fact that when he first saw her, she seemed very innocent and soft, making you want to protect her. But when you looked at her for twice, she seemed naturally seductive. When she stood still, her whole body made your mouth dry. Yi Mo sneered. She had indeed a natural seductive body. Yi Mo wasn't sure if it was due to cultivation or natural talent, but she had an eerie beauty. Just from her looks, she was better than Su Jingwen. But in Yi Mo's eyes, she was not as good as even Su Wei. Although Yi Mo disregarded her, Xiu and the others looked at her as though they wanted to eat her. Then the man gave a deadly stare to Luo Ying. His reaction was no better than blackheads. If the woman behind him used her body and seduction skills to showcase her beauty, then the woman in front of him was an indescribable goddess. I'll take that woman. The man reacted and pointed at Luo Ying. Yi Mo sneered and held his gun. Haha, don't bother waving your gun. Even if you shoot all the bullets in it, a gun like that won't harm me at all, the man laughed. The 2 bodyguards didn't even bother pulling out their guns. They just charged at Yi Mo. In their eyes, he was no stronger than an ant. They had been training every day how to dodge bullets. A pistol like Yi Mo's was slower than a 54. Although Han Zixin had given Yi Mo a pistol, it wasn't for him to protect himself. It was more as a symbol of power. Bang, bang, he shot the 2 bodyguards right on the forehead, and their bodies fell on the ground. The man looked dumbly at this. He couldn't believe what he has just seen. The man finally reacted, and immediately the cockiness he had was gone. He looked coldly at Yi Mo and didn't say anything. At the same time, the 50-year-old Earth level peak martial artist stood in front of him. You would have to use a 64 to kill young Master Heng's bodyguards. You must not be a simple man. I'm Kong Lai Wu. What's your name? The 50-year-old man saluted Yi Mo with his fist. Yi Mo thought about the situation. So he was Dai Heng, which meant that the woman behind him was Elon. She was pretty indeed. He hadn't even gone looking for him yet that young Master Heng had already come up to him himself. Chapter 611. See Through. Chapter 611. See Through. Yi Mo had the feeling that Kong Lai Wu's sentence from before contained some information he was yet to pinpoint. Kong Lai Wu continued, If I'm not wrong, you must be Yi Mo? The one behind you must be Mayor Sure. If you don't mind, I'll call you young Master Mo. Kong Lao looked calm. But only he knew that if the person in front of him was really Yi Mo, then he was probably no match for him. He couldn't have expected to meet Yi Mo there. Yi Mo finally understood why he felt something was weird about Kong Laiwu's first sentence. Usually, ancient martial artists wouldn't lower themselves to studying guns. Yet Kong Laiwu, who was at the peak of the earth level, which meant that he had been studying ancient martial arts since he was small, knew about the Type 64 pistol. That was abnormal, considering how Kong Laiwu was talking to him without asking for permission from Dai Hung first. Yi Mo could see that Kong Laiwu had at least the same status as Dai Hung. Yi Mo ignored Kong Laiwu and looked at Dai Hung. You're the one causing trouble in the Jioha Corporation case and harassing Li Chunxing. Huh. Dai Hung laughed at first, but he immediately put his smile away and said coldly, so you're Yi Mo. The Chiu family is scared of you, the Song family is scared of you, but I, Dai Hung, am not scared of you. What do you think you are? I know you have some power in Luoyu, but so what even if you call Sui Wehua here? You're right, I caused all of that trouble. What will you do about it? Yi Mo was dazed but immediately understood that not many people could know that he owned Luoyu. He'd been letting Sui Wehua, Yu Miaodong, and Zhang Jian manage and speak for Luoyu. It was normal that Dai Hung thought he was just some manager. This also meant that Han Zaixin hadn't spilled anything about him. Yi Mo spun his pistol and ordered plainly, send Lu Lin, Yan Yan, and Di Xiaodi over right now. In response, Dai Hung looked at Kong Laiwu. Yi Mo understood that this Dai Hung guy wanted Kong Laiwu to stop his bullets. But even though Kong Laiwu nodded on the outside, he was sneering in his heart. This Dai Hung was asking to die. Although he really wanted to fight Yi Mo, he didn't dare risk it. He had to wait for an ending. Dai Hung's life had nothing to do with him. Seeing Kong Laiwu nod, however, Dai Hung said lazily, Aren't you smart having figured out everything? But unfortunately, Li Chunxing is asking to die. Even if he didn't come to Jiutang, his ending will be all the same. As for you, dash, bang, bang. Blood sprouted from Dai Hung's knee, and he knelt down on the ground. He looked at his knee in terror, and in that moment he even forgot about the pain. Immediately after, he looked at Kong Laiwu with an angry face. He didn't believe that Kong Laiwu couldn't even catch 2 bullets. They should be like toys to him. So why hadn't he saved him? But Dai Hung saw that Kong Laiwu's face was also pale. He didn't understand how Yi Mo could shoot bullets so fast with a mere 64. His shots had been many times faster than in normal 64s. This wasn't even the most shocking thing. The moment Yi Mo opened fire, Kong Laiwu had felt like he was locked on by a very strong killing intent. He felt as if he would be killed immediately as long as he moved so much as an inch. He originally thought that even if he was no match for Yi Mo, the difference between them should still be rather limited. But now he knew that he was far inferior to Yi Mo. He had originally planned on stopping a bullet if it would be going for Dai Hung's vitals. But now he knew that no matter where Yi Mo shot, he wouldn't be able to stop it. He immediately started to sweat. Without an ND, he would be killed all too easily by Yi Mo. Kong Laiwu finally confirmed that the intel he had once gotten should be right. Yi Mo was a half-step Great Heaven Master, someone infinitely close to the Great Heaven stage. He didn't dare say anything and just wanted his pal to come faster because otherwise their plan wouldn't be realized. Seeing a Kong Laiwu with his mouth shut and a bad-looking face, Dai Hung knew he couldn't rely on him. I have 1 more bullet in my gun. If you talk any more shit, this bullet will be for your forehead. Yi Mo looked at the gun and casually remarked, Dai Hung, bring Lu Lin and her 2 daughters here immediately. How dare you take away young Master Mo's friends? Immediately have an ND bring them over to young Master Mo. Kong Laiwu suddenly roared at Dai Hung. Dai Hung shivered and finally felt scared. Although it seemed like Kong Laiwu was his bodyguard, the truth was that Kong Laiwu could ignore him if he wanted. Although he didn't know why it had to be an ND who should bring them here, he could only listen to Kong Laiwu. In the end, Kong Laiwu was actually more in the know than him. He had been planning on sleeping with all 3 women together, yet now he had already lost his knees. Meanwhile, the woman behind Daiheng was dazed. Everything had happened so fast. The big tree she relied on had already been hacked down. Daiheng immediately picked up the phone and called an Endi to bring the 3 women over. He had been very cocky recently. He left China 5 years ago, and when he came back he was full of confidence. The reason was that he had joined a top-grade organization not long ago. Yi Emo looked at Daiheng and knew that he was just a scapegoat, but Kong Laiwu's last words were somewhat questionable. Immediately have an Endi bring them over to young Master Mo. Was it important who sent them over? Before the 3 got there, a large amount of police officers came. They were immediately full of worry, looking at the ground, covered in blood and dead people. Kong Laiwu was about to put a stop to it and send the police away when Yi Emo took out a document and said, "Take the dead men away and lock up these hoodlums." The police took the document and immediately gave it back respectfully. "Yes, sir." Seeing the police come and go so fast without even asking why Yi Emo had killed, even Kong Laiwu really wanted to know what Yi Mo's other identity was. "Wang Chu, you guys can go for now." "Sure Xiu, you should stay." Yi Emo knew they wouldn't be of any help anyway. Wang Chu agreed and left. Sure Xiu's other friends also didn't dare stay and quickly ran. Only Shui Guiang and Sure Xiu stayed. "Young Master Mo, we really didn't plan on starting trouble with you. The Dai family and Chiu family just wanted to join up against the Li family, but then the Yi family also joined and what happened happened. However, please forgive us for any disrespect." Kong Laiwu didn't hide anything. Yi Emo wasn't interested in political warfare and smiled. "Mr. Kong, you must not be of simple origin to be able to reach the peak of the earth level. Other than the Zhang family having Zhang Zhihui, I really don't know which Chinese family has an earth peak level master. Are you really from the Dai family?" Kong Laiwu's eyes narrowed. He didn't expect Yi Emo would be able to see through his power level. This shook him. If he had fought with Yi Emo, then it would be understandable, but he had never so much as exchanged moves with Yi Emo, so how could Yi Emo tell? Was he already at the great heaven level? Before Kong Laiwu could answer, Yi Emo spoke in contempt once more. "You can't be from the Dai family, right? To be honest, I don't even think you're Chinese. Your way of doing things seems quite familiar. Makes me think of this organization I heard about called Northern Sand." Kong Laiwu shook, and the tea in front of him fell over. There was an insurmountable feud between Yi Emo and Northern Sand. So even if Yi Emo hadn't shot Daiheng, he would have tried to find an opportunity to get an Endi to come. He really didn't know how Yi Emo was able to tell he was part of Northern Sand. At that moment, Yi Mo's spirit sense picked up on a white man of small stature walking slowly to the restaurant door. Chapter 612. Such powerful weapon. Chapter 612. Such powerful weapon. The moment he saw the white man, Yi Mo knew he was an Endi. Because Kong Laiwu had requested for him to come, he studied an Endi closely. The guy walked very slowly and had a strange chi wave. It wasn't his first time in contact with this type of person. Yi Mo immediately knew that man was a mutant. Although he didn't know what level, he wouldn't be any weaker than Peter, who he had met at Luotsang. Yi Mo sneered. If they wanted to do anything to him just with that guy, then they underestimated him too much. Yi Mo's spirit sense scanned the man's sleeve and found that there was a gun in it, smaller than an average pistol. Its design was very strange. Were they planning to use that strange weapon against him? Yi Mo studied the gun, but he honestly believed that firearms really didn't pose a threat to him. Even if they had nuclear weapons, it had to be able to hit him first. The most threatening weapon Yi Mo had ever encountered was the explosive laser bomb, but that thing cost 100 million to be made. And even though he wasn't an idiot who would stand there and just let them blow him up. So, what could a pistol like that do to him? Still, Yi Mo was much more careful now. Despite not considering the pistol a threat, he still scanned it with his spirit sense. As soon as he did, he got up immediately. "What's wrong?" Seeing Yi Emo get up, Luoing also got up. "Nothing. I'm thinking about something." "Sit down." Yi Emo smiled to Luoing and said. Luoing knew that Yi Emo had found out something, but she didn't ask. He had noticed that the pistol didn't have bullets, which was no normal gun's mechanism. But what really shocked him the most was that there was a small piece of crystal in the gun. This crystal was placed in a sort of circuit that he didn't understand. Furthermore, that small crystal was a piece of the extreme energy crystal. Even though Yi Emo didn't know how powerful that pistol was, he knew it had certainly been designed by Yi Xing. It could definitely threaten his life. "Young Master Emo, don't worry. Lu Lin and the others haven't been mistreated at all." When Dai Hung saw that Emo's expression wasn't good, he feared for his life. Yi Emo wasn't in the mood to talk with Dai Hung. His spirit sense was focused on the short white man. He rejoiced that he had spirit sense. If that gun was really powerful and he hadn't had spirit sense, he would have been at risk of dying that day, even if he had reached great heaven. The white man walked to the counter and asked for something, but he didn't come up immediately. Yi Emo also noticed that Lu Lin and the rest hadn't even arrived yet. At that moment, people entered through door. The leading man was a tall white man, and 3 women followed behind him. It was Lu Lin and the others, but they looked fatigued and despaired. Yi Emo was dazed. Had he made a mistake? Was the man who just entered an Endi? Was the short man who was in front of him just a passerby? Yi Emo shook his head and immediately refuted that idea. A passerby wouldn't carry an extreme energy stone pistol just like that. They are working together, Emo thought. The tall white man led the 3 women into the elevator. Yi Emo's spirit sense scanned him. He found out that he was mutant too and not a weak one. He also had a pistol, but it was an ordinary one. Just when Yi Emo was getting quite confused, the short white man also walked into the elevator with a waitress. Yi Emo breathed at ease. His guess was right. The 2 men didn't talk to each other, but they were on the same team. The 6 people all exited the elevator on the 6th floor. The short white man looked like he didn't mind the people in front of him at all. He talked with the waitress as he squished her ass. The 2 groups were approximately 6 meters apart. Soon, they reached room 616, and the tall, white man knocked on the door. Kong Laiwu was getting up to open, but Yi Emo stopped him. He walked to the door and sighed. 6 meters were just enough for the short, white man to reach the door when he opened it. It seemed they had already thought of a thorough plan to deal with him. Yi Emo didn't understand why they were putting their hopes on that pistol. It seemed that as long as they opened fire, he wouldn't be able to get away. Yi Emo walked to the door, but kept his spirit sense on the short man. Although he seemed to be flirting with the waitress, he was also highly concentrated. The moment he opened the door, he flung a wind blade to the short man. Almost at the same time, the tall white man pulled out his gun, and Kong Laiwu also attacked from behind. Everything happened so fast. Just when Yi Emo had thrown a wind blade, while the white man hadn't pulled out his gun yet, and Kong Laiwu's fist was still half a meter from Yi Emo's back, a blue beam of light flashed. It pierced the tall white man's back, going through his stomach diagonally and piercing the ground a few millimeters away from Yi Emo's toe. Yi Emo noticed that the blue ray had gone through 6 floors and into the ground in an extreme high speed. So fast! But Yi Emo didn't have time to think. He knew Kong Laiwu's fist was about to hit him. He ignored Kong Laiwu. To him, the short white man had the biggest threat. He dashed to the short white man and grabbed his arm, which hadn't fell on the floor yet. At this moment, Kong Laiwu's fist hit the tall white man. His target had been Yi Emo, but he had instantly disappeared. That tall white man was already dead because of being shot by the blue light, but now he was struck by Kong Laiwu's fist too. Yi Emo grabbed the pistol from the hand and finally felt assured. He couldn't help to applaud the man's speed. He had attacked first, but the man had still managed to pull the trigger. It was because he had sliced off his arm that the pistol aimed down. If not, it would have gone through his leg or chest. His wind blade wasn't as fast as the blue light. That's why the man still could lift up a bit and fire. It had been a close call. Yemo was sweating. If Kong Lai Wu had opened the door first, his wind blade would have been even slower. Perhaps Kong Lai Wu hadn't realized that he was being used as a mean to hit Yemo. If he had died or gotten injured, it was fine, but Luoying was with him. He didn't want to imagine what would have happened to her. Chapter 613. The Threat of Northern Sand. Chapter 613. The Threat of Northern Sand. This crazy organization. They actually sent such crazy killers and weapons to kill him. This pistol could pierce through everything no matter what you had to block it. You would definitely die. Yemo was sure that he could easily kill 10 of these mutants. But what if they all had such weapons? If they attacked at the same time, it would be very hard to tell who would win in the end. Yemo was sure that the blue light would end up hitting him first. The blue light was beyond Yemo's reaction speed. Was this how the Northern Sand wanted to take him out? But Yemo believed that even if they had such a powerful weapon, it might be the case that only this white man was able to react with such speed. You knew that true attacker was me? Your reaction speed is no lesser than mine. You're strong, very strong, the white man spoke and fell to the ground. He had killed himself. Why was this guy so similar to the Black Sun Empire members, who still killed themselves with poison when they were caught? But why weren't Kong Lai Wu and Dai Hung committing suicide? Yemo turned back and looked at Kong Lai Wu, who had a pale face, and said coldly, "Nice calculations, Mr. Kong. Your Northern Sand is quite good. One thing, though, you were planning on having this tall, white guy mask the blue light, but perhaps you were chosen to filter it too. To be honest, I really didn't expect you guys to be able to make such a weapon." Kong Lai Wu's face was bad. He knew he was done for. Yemo ignored him and looked at Lu Lin and company. "Now that you're here, you don't have to worry anymore." Then Yemo looked at the tall, white man in shock. The place where the blue light had pierced him started to expand. "Brother Yi, thank you for saving us again." Yen Yen was the first to react. "Thank you, truly. Yemo, I don't even want the heritage anymore, just as long as the three of us can be safe." Lu Lin thought they were done for when they were brought there, but then they saw Yemo. The roller coaster of emotions they had been through and the scene of dead bodies made them feel happy to be alive. The battle had gone by so fast that by the time Shi Xiu and Shui Guiyang reacted, it was already over. Yemo walked to Kong Lai Wu and patted his shoulder with his chi, saying, "I sealed your meridians, so do your best for me. I will wait for you in Jiutang. If you accomplish anything, come find me tomorrow. If not, there's no need to come." Yemo then walked to Dai Hung and said, "Go back and make me happy. If I'm not satisfied, you can imagine the consequences." Then Yemo scanned Alon. All she felt when Yemo looked at her was frigidity. The reason why he didn't kill Dai Hung was because there were a lot of things he needed the guy to do. He could kill Dai Hung at any time anyway. Gaining an obedient dog was much better than killing him. After seeing Yemo actually leave, Kong Lai Wu honestly couldn't fathom why Yemo was letting them go. But soon after, Kong Lai Wu felt the inner qi in his body slowly gather towards his dantian. He couldn't use it, and at the current rate at which it was gathering, he had 2 days' time before his dantian would explode. At this moment, he finally understood why Yemo had let him go. "Ah, Brother Yi, your girlfriend is really pretty." Yi Xiaodi was the first to adjust her state back to normal. "Thank you. You are also very pretty." Yemo smiled to her and then said to Lu Lin, "After Dai Hung brings the money here, you guys can move to Luoyu if you don't like it here." We can go to Luoyu. I heard the requirements for getting in are very strict. Also, why would Dai Hung bring any money over? Yen Yen said. Yi Mo replied, if he's a smart person, he will, don't worry. As for Luo Yu, I'll give you guys a number you should call. Yi Mo, will Brother Chunqing be fine? Won't this cause problems with the Dai and Qiu family? Shi Xiu asked worriedly. Yi Mo said, I don't want to meddle in those fights, but Li Chunqing is my friend, so I will help him. Don't worry. I believe Kong Laiwu knows what to do as well. Yi Mo didn't want to kill Kong Laiwu. He might have already left a mark on a high-level member of Northern Sand. He wouldn't mind having an extra one. Northern Sand made him feel threatened. It seemed like Northern Sand was treating him as their number one enemy too. One day, he would have to face off with Northern Sand. He didn't have to make Kong Laiwu join his side to control him. That wasn't realistic anyway, but he could still control him in other ways. Kong Laiwu appeared earlier than Yi Mo had expected. He came to Yi Mo's place early on the second day. Northern Sand didn't start the fight between the Li family and the Dai and Qiu families. We were just making use of the event. We can promise that what we wish to do has no conflict of interest with you. Dai Heng did Li Chunqing in because he happened to get the support of his family for it. Kong Laiwu opened up completely. Yi Mo knew that Kong Laiwu was trying to get him to trust him. Then Kong Laiwu took out a check and said, this is the money for the Juha Corporation. I've brought it over. Yi Mo looked at Lu Lin and asked, this check is 900 million, but I don't know the market value of Juha Corporation. Is it enough? It's enough. In fact, it's not worth that much. Lu Lin knew that the corporation was worth 500 million at most. Yi Mo waved his hand and said, the extra is compensation, just take it. With Yi Mo's confirmation, Lu Lin agreed. Seeing Yi Mo take the check, Kong Laiwu breathed a sigh of relief and then said, Secretary Li's case has been proven to have been someone wrongly accusing him. He has returned to his position. As compensation, the Dai and Qiu family are willing to vacate a provincial vice mayor position in Hefeng. So I'm just conveying the message. Yi Mo thought, it's good that Li Chunqing got promoted again. He nodded and agreed. Then he said to Shi Xiu, Li Chunqing got promoted again. Go ahead and go to Hefeng to celebrate with him. Of course. Shi Xiu immediately nodded. That will do, Yi Mo said as he patted Kong Laiwu's shoulder. He not only removed the restrictions, but also secretly left behind a hidden wave of qi. Kong Laiwu was relieved that Yi Mo didn't kill him and let him go instead. He immediately turned to leave, not daring to mention anything about their most precious super light beam gun. Chapter 614 5-Element Rock. Chapter 614 5-Element Rock. Lu Lin, you three go with Shi Xiu to Hefeng, and let Li Chunqing help you get to Luo Yu. I still have to take care of some other stuff with Luo Ying. It'll be a while before I go back. Yi Mo saw that he was done here and didn't want to stay. If it hadn't been for the trouble in Jiutang, he would have already taken Luo Ying to the Duanheng Ranges to find that nun. To him, the most important thing right now was the golden page and where she had gotten her spirit stone from. Since the nun had also guessed that he had the other 2 pages, she probably didn't want to go back to the small world. To her, the most important thing was also having the golden page. He was very badly injured and Luo Ying wasn't strong. Jia Xin didn't know he had a lotus life pill, so she must have thought that she would get them for sure. When she recovered, she would go to the village to find him and Luo Ying. Lu Lin knew that they had to get to Luo Yu as soon as they could. Although Yi Mo was strong, he couldn't stay with them forever. She said gratefully, thank you. If it wasn't for you, we would be in peril. Yi Mo smiled, it's fine. You should leave soon. It's not safe for you to stay in Jiutang. Hearing this, Lu Lin hesitated before saying, Juha got a colorful stone back when he was young. He used to say that stone was very precious, but he didn't know why. He didn't dare let people look at it, fearing it would get unwanted attention. It's in the house. I wanted to give it to you last time you came, but you left so fast that we didn't get a chance. Now it's too late. When we were captured, they took the stone too." Yi-Emo waved his hand. "It was just a stone. I heard Juha talk about it too. He said he would give it to me when he got free. Since it's not here, never mind." Yi-Emo thought it was at most a precious gemstone, which wasn't much use to him. "Mom, are you talking about the colorful stone that's warm when you hold it in your hand, but sometimes it's also cool?" Yan asked. "What? The stone changes its temperature?" Yi-Emo intervened before Lu-Lin could answer. She looked strangely at Yi-Emo and said, "Yes, it's a very eerie stone." "What color is it? Does it change color to you?" Yi-Emo was getting more excited. Lu-Lin nodded. "Yes, the stone's color does change indeed. Sometimes it's just red and white, and then sometimes red, white, and blue. Moreover, in rare occasions it could get to 5 colors. Have you seen this sort of stone before?" Although Yi-Emo was very excited, he kept himself calm. He knew it was a 5-element rock. It was a very rare material for artifact forging, even rarer than star jade. It was something used to make spirit artifacts, which were countless times more powerful than magic artifacts. Yi-Emo knew that even if he had the rock, he wouldn't be able to make spirit artifacts. If he added a bit of a 5-element rock to ordinary materials, he could make a flying sword. He had been looking for materials to make a flying sword for long, but he had seemed to have ran out of luck. Now that he had found the 5-element rock, he wasn't going to let it go. "How big is that stone? Where did you lose it?" Yi-Emo asked. As though she could feel Yi-Mo's excitement and desperation, Ishaodai suddenly asked, "Brother Yi, is that stone very important? More precious than a diamond?" Perhaps in her eyes, the most expensive thing in the world was diamond. Yi-Emo nodded. An egg-sized 5-element rock was worth a few million spirit stones. Yi-Emo had never seen that many, not even in his past life. He really didn't understand how the Earth could have such thing. The only explanation was that it came from asteroids and meteorites. Lu-Lin immediately said, "The stone had the size of 2 fists. After our final trial for the case, I knew things weren't going to be that simple. We started packing our things, but before we could leave we were taken away by the Wu Jin Association." Wu Jin Association? Yi-Emo questioned. There were too many of these small gangs. Wu Jin Association is a rather well-known gang in Hedong province. It wasn't too important before, but due to some reason, the mainland gangs started to decline. So these small gangs rose in power. Shui Guiyang had been working at the police station and knew these things better than everyone else. Lu-Lin nodded. "After they took us away, all our belongings remain in their hands. We still haven't gotten them back yet." After understanding the situation, Yi-Emo got up and said to Shixiu and Shui Guiyang, "You guys can go back to Hifeng first. I'll return once I'm done here." "Brother Yi, should we wait for you and Sister Luo at Hifeng?" Ishaodai asked. Yi-Emo smiled. "No need. Try to find a way to get to Luo you once you're in Hifeng. I'm busy. I'll go visit you guys to Luo you." Yi-Emo wanted to send Luo Ying to Luo Yu before he went looking for the 5-element stone. After being aware of the threat that pistol supposed, he was sure that Northern Sand could make at least 8 more with the stones they had. Without counting the one he had already dealt with, they had about 7 of them. If something happened to Luo Ying, even if he reached Ascension stage, he wouldn't be able to forgive himself. Without Luo Ying, he doubted if he would have the will to continue cultivation. After marrying Luo Ying, she was a part of his life. If they managed to make not only a pistol, but also a sniper that was outside his spirit sense range, he wouldn't be able to dodge it. Yi-Emo was sure that Northern Sand wasn't going to let him go after suffering such heavy loss. They just didn't have the confidence to take him out anymore. Luo Ying seemed to know what Yi-Emo was thinking and touched his face. "And I'll wait for you. Didn't you say your sister was at Ninghai? Send me there." "Be careful. Yi Mo took out that extreme energy stone pistol and gave it to Luoing. Susu, take this pistol. If you're ever in danger, don't give them any chance, just fire. No, no one will know I'm staying in Ninghai. I won't be in danger. So I'd rather you keep this pistol. Luoing immediately rejected. He hugged her and said, This pistol can only be used a few times and I won't use it. You can use it to protect yourself and Beiwei. I'll come to meet you guys as soon as I get the stone. When he realized that he was going to take Luoing to Luoyu, Yi Mo hesitated. He didn't know if it was the right moment to tell her about Qingxue. Luoing could see Yi Mo's hesitance, but she didn't ask. He would tell her what needs to be told. Chapter 615, Wu Jin Association. Chapter 615, Wu Jin Association compared to the chaos Beijing was in. The second largest city of China, Jin City was rather calm. Yet, the wealthiest family in the city, the Shen family, wasn't calm at all. Their ancestor was supposedly one Xin Wansen, a very famous businessman who, despite being brought down many times, used his great business genius to firmly establish the Shin family, although they weren't famous to the level of being on the Forbes list. Those in the business all knew that the truly wealthy people didn't appear in Forbes anyway. The Shen family was one such family. The reason why the Shen family wasn't calm that particular day was because the leader of the Shen family, Shen Taigong, had died due to illness. According to the rules of the family, the next family leader would be the eldest son of the first wife. There should be no exceptions. Unless the eldest son died, this rule wouldn't change. The eldest son hadn't died yet, so there shouldn't be any discord normally. But the problem was that even though that generation's eldest son hadn't died, he wasn't too different from being dead. Shen Chuyin had been in bed for half a year as a vegetable. The Shen family was a big family, and so there was discord in the Shen family mansion over the position of family leader. Shen Yin was also from the Shen family. Shen Yin had come back from Hong Kong a while before already, but her auntie Qingkue hadn't come back with her after she got well. She had left Hong Kong alone, and even Shen Yin didn't know where she went, so she was a bit sad. The first thing she did when she got back to Jin City was to report to the family that her auntie had been cured, more precisely by a young man on the plane with runic paper. She told them to find this young man so that he could treat her big uncle. Some people did believe that Qingkue was cured at first, but when Shanin said that it was thanks to a young man using charms, no one bothered to talk to her anymore. If her condition had been cured, why didn't she come back to Jin City? They all thought that the reason why Shanin said that had to be because she wanted the family to send more money to treat Qingkue. Couldn't the girl come up with a better lie? Shen Yin finally went to find her father, but her father's words made her even more sad. He just told her to try not to get too close to Qingkue and reproached her for her spreading news that runic paper had cured Qingkue. Helplessly, Shen Yin could only find her cousin Shinfeilin to unfreeze the card, but now that Shinfeilin knew that the card was taken by a fraud, he didn't help her. Although it was only a few million, he still didn't want to give it to a fraud. Shin Yin was so desperate that she almost fought Shinfeilin, but the card still wasn't unfrozen in the end. The Shun family members didn't believe her, and no one cared about Auntie Qingkue. Shen Yin felt extremely disappointed, and she finally understood why Auntie Qingkue left the family and didn't want to come back. Meanwhile, Yi Mo sent Luo Ying to Ninghai, and Su Jingwen went to Beijing. Apparently, it was her grandfather's birthday. When Tang Beiwei saw Luo Ying, she couldn't help but approve of her brother's eyes. Both of his wives were so pretty. However, she also couldn't help but worry about when the two would meet. How would her brother deal with it? At the same time, she felt bad for Su Jingwen. She was such an excellent girl, yet her brother wasn't interested in her. And the same was true for sister Yunbing, who often came to visit her. After Yi Mo sent Luo Ying to Ninghai, he made some arrangements and then went back to Jiutong. Although the golden page was important, it's not like he needed it right at that moment. He did need the 5-element rock immediately, though. Wu Jin Association was the biggest gang in Jiutang, but their operations weren't limited to Jiutang. They had branches in almost all of Hedong province's cities. Blackhead was a part of that network, and his company was just a sub-company of Wu Jin Association. Blackhead had just wanted to use Shixiu to earn some money. However, when the Wu Jin Association found out that Shixiu had gone to help Li Chunsheng, they told him they wanted to kill Shixiu. Yet, instead, Blackhead was killed. Someone had dared kill Blackhead on their turf? This was outrageous. Wu Jin Association immediately used the most of their gangster-based information network and found out that the person who killed Blackhead came from Beijing and was someone with a license to kill. This made the boss of Wu Jin Association hesitant about getting revenge. If he really went and did something to this person, the government would end up chasing him down. No matter how strong they were just a gang in the end. Although they had a lot of powerful people in the gang, if something like that happened, they might not be able to help him. But if he didn't get revenge, they would lose their name and it would be impossible to keep their strong solidarity. So, Xiong Chinny gathered all the higher-ups of the gang to have a meeting and discuss how they should get revenge. Brother Xiong, if young Master Hung wasn't injured, we wouldn't have been able to do anything. But since he's injured, I feel like we can do something. Who does that guy think he is, daring to injure young Master Hung? Someone commented. Xiong Chinny frowned and waved his hand. We will wait a while and see how young Master Hung deals with it. That man is someone with a license to kill after all. We need to be careful. Someone bring that small cop over. Xiong Chinny already knew that Dai Heng's caretaker had gone to meet the man, but left quickly, and then Lu Lin and company all left Jiutang. Yet the man who killed Blackhead along with that beautiful woman was still in the hotel. It seems like that young kid has quite the background. Dai Heng's caretaker went today, yet he didn't take anyone away, which means they reached an agreement. Xiong Chinny thought for a bit and then said, "Listen to my order. No one is to touch that person." Who was Dai Heng? That cocky to the extreme guy had easily killed a middle-level official. That's how powerful he was. And yet someone like him had his legs broken and still had to suck it up. Soon the cop was brought over. He was covered in blood, and there was even blood on his head. "Officer Liu, I'll give you one more chance. Tell me how that guy who killed Blackhead is called? What is his background? You might not be afraid of death, but what about your wife? Are you not worried about your wife? I can promise you here and now that if you tell me what that guy is called and what his background is, I won't touch your wife," Xiong Chinny said. Lu Zhuan knew that he was done for, and that even if he answered Xiong Chinny, he would still be going to die. Just when Lu Zhuan was about to speak, a voice suddenly appeared in the room. "My name is Yi Mo, and if you're that desperate to get to know me, I'm here. Luckily, it's not too late and everyone is here." "Who are you? How did you get in?" Xiong Chinny got up immediately and looked at Yi Mo in shock. "I walked in." As he said that, Yi Mo kicked 2 hoodlums who had tried to subjugate him away. Xiong Chinny didn't bother with the 2 hoodlums, but his face changed drastically and he asked in a shaky voice, "Wait, your name is Yi Mo? Beijing Yi family's Yi Mo?" Chapter 616. Speak? Chapter 616. Speak, Yi M. "Young Master Mo, we didn't mean to offend you. Why did you come all the way here?" Xiong Chinny got up and said with a pale face. Everyone in the room looked at their big boss in shock. They didn't understand. Even if their boss saw the mayor, he wouldn't be like this. Who was that Yi Mo? Why had their fearless boss gotten so scared? Other people didn't know Yi Mo, but he had heard of him. They said that the Song family had faded away because of a certain Yi Mo. But what made Xiong Chinny fear him the most was that a cruel person had appeared at the Ghost City's hidden sex tournament, and his name was Yi Mo. Although he didn't have the right to go to the tournament, they said that Yi-Mo was a killing machine. He even dared to fight the legendary hidden sections. Anyone who belonged to the hidden sects could kill whoever stood on their way easily. Yet, Yi-Mo could effortlessly beat the hidden sections. Xiong was an insect next to him. No wonder he dared to kill openly without concerns. Moreover, no wonder he had dared to break Dai Heng's leg, and he hadn't done anything about it. After thinking it through, Xiong legs were shaking. Many years had passed since he had been that scared. Not even when he had faced his big boss for the first time as a small cloney, he had been that scared. Seeing Yi-Mo approach him, Xiong no longer dared to stand in front of the seats and walked down quickly saying, "Young Master Mo, please have a seat." Yi-Mo sat on the head seat and scanned Xiong. "I heard you're looking for me, right?" Xiong teeth clattered as he said, No, how dare I look for you? Young Master Mo, this is a mistake, just a mistake. Sure, Xiao is my friend, and I'm familiar with Lu Lin's family. Yet, your association has been trying to do harm to them recently. Although he could deal with the problem by throwing some wind blades, Yi-Mo didn't want to do that. No, that's a misunderstanding. I regret listening to young Master Hung. Although he knew he had offended Yi-Mo because of this, he still had a sliver of hope of putting the blame on Dai Hung. Yi-Mo knew that Dai Hung had ordered him to do it, but Xiong was no good person either. He looked at the policeman and said, "Go back and get things ready. Call Li Chensheng. Let him put you in charge of this case and get rid of Wu Jin Association's power in the province. Take this pill and go do this." Lu Juin was dazed for a while after hearing this. He was getting a promotion. With Li Chensheng by his side, what couldn't he do? He quickly took the pill and walked outside, telling the police to investigate Wu Jin Association right at their base was more than a slap in the face. "FCK, who are you? You dare dash Wu Jin Association was a big gang, and there were quite a lot of people who weren't afraid of death." But the man who just spoke couldn't finish speaking. He was shot dead in the forehead by Yi-Mo. This is the last bullet. Yi-Mo looked at the gun and shook his head. This thing didn't need chi. It was quite convenient. Xiong's expression kept changing. He knew that Yi-Mo was very strong, but it was too insulting. He had almost knelt down. Yet Yi-Mo still told the police in his face to have the province committee annihilate their power. Should he keep enduring this? He had to. He knew how powerful someone who could beat the hidden sects was. F***CK, brothers, let's go and kill this bitch. Seeing that Yi-Mo was going to kill them all, Xiong was scared, but there were some people who weren't. The vice leader had been unhappy with his ruling for a long time. It was his chance to bring Xiong down. With his call, more than half of the 20 or so members pulled out their swords. Xiong saw his men go up, but he didn't move nor stop them. He had the slight hope that he had heard wrong about Yi-Mo. Yi-Mo smiled and threw some wind blades. He really wasn't interested in fighting these people. In the blink of an eye, these men were all killed. Although there weren't any dismembered bodies, Yi-Mo's wind blades had aimed accurately into their hearts, causing a bloodbath. The air had the smell of blood. From the uproar to the massacre, there had been only a few seconds, and then everything turned calm. The remaining people's faces were pale. They usually saw a lot of blood. Some had even killed before, but they'd never seen someone like Yi-Mo just killing tens of people a hand wave. Xiong got more frightened. He didn't think someone who cultivated ancient martial arts could reach such a superhuman level. What shook him the most was how calm Yi-Mo was when slaughtering the men. Then scene fell into silence. Yi-Mo didn't talk either. He saw a fat man running inside with desperation. The man pushed open the door, and before he noticed the situation, he said, "Brother Xiong, the higher-ups are sending people to investigate the Wu Jin Association. You dash!" He finally realized that things weren't right. The floor was covered with dead bodies, and other than the man sitting at the top, everyone had a pale face and shaky legs. What's going on? The fat man stopped walking. He wanted to retreat. Who are you? You came to notify the Wu Jin Association? Yi Mo glanced at the fat man. The fat man glanced at Xiong Qianni, who was staring at the ground. He immediately knew things weren't going well. He saw the gun in Yi Mo's hand and didn't dare retreat. He said loudly, I'm the police chief of Jutang. What's going on here? Yi Mo shook his head. If the fat man hadn't come, he really wouldn't have bothered going, but since he came, he didn't need to go at all. He would save some trouble for Li Chunxing, and without thinking, he threw a wind blade over. He knew that killing a police chief would bring some trouble to Li Chunxing, but the Dai and Chiu family were already concerned about Yi Mo. If Li Chunxing still couldn't deal with it, there was no use in him staying in the political scene. He stared at Xiong Qianni and asked, You captured Lu Lin's family, right? Seeing that Yi Mo dared to even kill a police chief, Xiong Qianni's heart went ice cold. He said shakily, Yes, but we didn't treat them with disrespect. Yi Mo continued asking, She had some things in her house. Did you take them too? Where are they? I don't know about this. Bao Sheng is the one responsible for these matters. Xiong Qianni looked at his number one man. Bao Sheng was usually the one abusing people, but he finally got a taste of his own medicine. The only difference was that although he was scared, his eyes kept turning. There was a colorful stone. Where is it? Speak. When Yi Mo claimed the last word, he slammed the table. Chapter 617. Chase. Chapter 617. Chase. Yes, I'll speak. I threw away most things, but I did sell such a stone. Bao Sheng saw Yi Mo's face turn very ugly and immediately understood that Yi Mo was looking for that stone. He didn't dare hide anything. That stone was colorful and sometimes changed colors. I took it to Gem Banner, and the boss there, Boss Luo, bought it for 8 million. What? Xiong Qianni didn't believe his ears. Even the association itself couldn't easily earn 8 million. Yet his most loyal man had actually secretly sold that stone for that much. Xiong Qianni's face was getting worse, but he soon remembered the situation he was in. His life might be as good as over. Why would he care about his men's loyalty? Yi Mo got up and said coldly to Bao Sheng, Take me to that Gem Banner right now. Then he Xiong Qianni a cold look. Xiong Qianni's heart quenched. He was sure he was done for. The slaughter god in front of him gave him a look right before leaving. This meant he was going to die for sure. Thinking like that, Xiong Qianni took out a dagger and quickly cut 2 of his own fingers off. He originally wanted to cut off his whole wrist, but in the end couldn't do it. Yi Mo spoke calmly. When that cop brings people to disassemble Wu Jin Association, you know what to do. If you don't want to cooperate, you can try and run. But I don't think you can run faster than Qianlong Tu. Young Master Mo, I wouldn't dare to. I will wait for Officer Lu to come, and I will cooperate with him to pull out Wu Jin Association from its roots. Xiong Qianni's face was pale because of the pain, but he didn't dare say no to Yi Mo. He knew that Yi Mo wasn't killing him only because he wanted him to help completely take out Wu Jin Association. Concerning Qianlong Tu, he had indeed heard that he had also died in Yi Mo's hands. Compared to Qianlong Tu, Xiong Qianni was worth less than his nail. As for Bao Sheng, he was very devious and had killed many people. Before joining Wu Jin Association, he once raped and killed 2 university girls. Yet even though he had no significant background or money, he was still fine. From this, one could see the level of his cunning. Compared to Xiong Qianni, Bao Sheng was far better at scheming. In fact, ever since Bao Sheng joined Wu Jin Association, he had constantly been thinking about replacing Xiong Qianni. So after bringing Yi Mo to Gem Banner, he was thinking of how to escape. Should he cut his fingers like Xiong Qianni or something? As Bao Sheng brought Yi Mo to the door, Yi Mo stopped and looked at the confused Bao Sheng. You've killed quite a lot, right? Bao Sheng didn't expect GMO to ask him such an irrelevant question. No dash, his first reaction was to deny. You can stay here and guard the door, GMO said, but then he soon threw a backhanded wind blade before leaving. Bao Sheng clutched his throat and was in disbelief. Why did GMO kill him at that time? Didn't he just want him to show him the way? Bao Sheng was unsatisfied, but he suddenly came to understand something as he fell over. Yi Mo had wanted to give him hope and then kill him immediately after. Yi Mo had wanted to torture him. A gust of hatred rose in his soul, and he cursed. Yi, even in death I will make sure you don't live well. Yi Mo knew that since this gem banner place had spent a few million to buy the stone, they knew the stone's worth. He might not be able to buy it back with money, but if he couldn't, he would just have to steal it. But he couldn't let Gem Banner know who he was. If they knew something about him that would make them suspect him, and they had his photo, that would be embarrassing. Before he entered Gem Banner, Yi Mo disguised himself as an ugly, bearded man. He even fabricated a knife scar on his face. He chose such a look to appear more threatening. Gem Banner was China's biggest organization for trading jade and antiques, and they had shops all over the world. So Yi Mo found it really quickly. Is Boss Luo here? Yi Mo asked while scanning the shop with his spirit sense. He had a bad feeling right after, because there was no colorful rock to be found. Wait a moment, I will call him for you. As one girl saw Yi Mo's ferocious look, she immediately called Boss Luo. Not long after, an old man came in and asked, Which friend is looking for me? The man was in his 60s. I am, because I have some private things to ask Boss Luo about, Yi Mo replied simply. No problem, I'm Luo Yu. I'll tell you whatever I know. Luo Yu could also tell that Yi Mo was no good guy and tried to avoid offending him. So Yi Mo straight up asked, Boss Luo, a few days ago Wu Jing Association's Bao Sheng apparently sold a colorful rock in the shop. Is that the case? Hearing this, Luo Yu's heart skipped. He had bought the stone from Bao Sheng rather cheaply, yet now, after quite a few days, someone came looking for it. Seeing Luo Yu not speak, Yi Mo sneered, Bao Sheng stole something of mine, and I've dealt with him already. So don't try to play tricks with me, Boss Luo. Or else, don't blame me for getting rough. Hearing this, Luo Yu's back went cold. He knew who Bao Sheng was all too clear, yet such a person had been dealt with by this bearded man? Although Gem Banner didn't have to be afraid of someone like him, they did proper business, so it really wouldn't be good to have this become an incident. The people nearby heard that Wu Jin Association was involved and quickly left. This dash, Luo Yu thought for a bit and started speaking. Gem Banner is an upright business, but friend, you're right, a few days ago I did indeed buy a colorful rock. However, we only care about the quality of the product. We don't care about its origin. Yi Mo sneered. Oh, if you don't care about the origin of things, that means your place is a good place for selling off dirty goods. Friend, you can't say that. Bao Sheng said that the rock had a clean origin. And of course we can't investigate that. Gem Banner is just a simple shop. We can't investigate every customer. If we did, there would be no need for us to think about doing business. Luo Yu was worried. If it wasn't for Yi Mo looking so ferocious, he wouldn't even have said that much. Yi Mo didn't want to waste time talking to this Luo Yu. He just had to know where it was. From Luo Yu's tone, it would seem the shop knew the value of the stone, so Yi Mo just had to find where it had been sent to and buy it as soon as possible. And if that wasn't possible, he would steal it. Thinking like this, Yi Mo just said, I don't want to have to say anything else. Just tell me where the stone is now. Hearing this, Luo Yu breathed a sigh of relief. It's been shipped to the Gem Banner in Jin City, and in a few days it will appear in an auction as the final prod dash. Before Luo Yu could finish, Yi Mo had already disappeared. He needed to get to Jin City right away. If the 5-element rock was sold, how would he find it? He had to get it before it was sold. Chapter 618, Despair. Chapter 618. Despair after leaving Jiutang. Yemo went to Jin City as soon as he could. The gem banner in Jin City was located in an antique store street. When Yemo got there, he almost thought he had come back to Luoyu continent's cultivation cities. The structures there were more and more ancient, and there were quite a lot of roadside stalls. He looked at this familiar yet unknown street and lost his mind for a moment. Yemo found Gem Banner quickly. He had heard Boss Luo say that the boss surname was Pansheng. He was a middle-aged man in his 40s, slightly fat. This shop was much bigger than the one in Jiutang. They had everything. Yemo scanned with his spirit sense carefully, but he was immediately disappointed. The 5-element rock wasn't in there either. Is Boss Pan here? I have to talk with him about business. Yemo went inside and asked. A bearded man with a ferocious-looking knife scar had come in yelling, and this immediately made everyone move away. Hello, sir. Our boss is out for a business meeting. He will be back tomorrow afternoon. A young man in his 20s answered. He knew that kind of people could be looking for trouble, so it was best not to leave any excuse for them to start a fight. But Yemo wasn't looking for trouble. Even knowing that Pansheng wasn't there, he had still asked. He was disappointed. He just had to know where the 5-element rock was. With his means, he could take it away easily. Seeing the ferocious man leave the establishment, the waiter breathed at ease. Although they had their own security guard, he didn't want the customer he was taking care of to get into a fight with the security. In his boredom, Yemo called Luo Ying and Ning Qingxue to tell them he was at Jin City. He would return in a while, so he then started to stroll around on the antique street. He was trying to decide whether he should find a place to stay for the night. He scanned his spirit sense and saw a large crowd huddling around a small square. It was a stone betting square. They were betting stone. Yemo wasn't interested in that. After all, no matter how good the jade was, it wasn't anything to him. The money he would earn wouldn't be worth it. The only use Yemo could give to jade was to set formations. But the effects weren't that good either. Just when he was about to leave, he saw a familiar figure in a corner. Soon, Yemo recognized that person. It was Su Wei. Why was she there? She looked very stressed and seemed to be crying. Had she lost a stone in a bet? Su Wei was a good person, and he owed her a favor. She had been looking after his silver heart grass for a long time, and she had stayed with Ning Qingxue for a long time. He was very grateful to her, so Yemo went to say hi. Hey, beautiful lady, why are you crying here by yourself? He wanted Su Wei to lighten up. Huh, who are you? Su Wei looked at Yemo and quickly took a few steps back. Yemo subconsciously touched his face and smiled bitterly. Everyone stared at Yemo and then at Su Wei, and they assumed he had bad intentions. But people would rather avoid trouble, so they quickly left. Yemo smiled bitterly, walked up to Su Wei and whispered, Su Wei, I'm Yemo. I'm wearing a mask right now. The beard is fake. There were people hunting me, so I'm hiding. You are Yemo? Su Wei looked at Yemo in disbelief. He could only say, We lived together in that small house in Ninghai. Did you forget? Huh. You really are Yemo. Su Wei finally believed him. She could recognize his voice. Yemo nodded. Why did you leave Ninghai? I didn't expect to see you here. Did something happen to you? Su Wei suddenly started to cry again. She just wanted to go into Yemo's arms and weep. He looked awkwardly at everyone who looked at him in contempt. He could only say in a small voice, Don't cry, otherwise people will think I'm doing something to you. What is it? Tell me. Su Wei finally stopped crying and told him the reason. Her mother and brother were living in Jin City. Her mother had been staying at the hospital for more than a year, so she had no option but to give up her job at Ninghai and come take care of her mother. Her mother needed large amounts of money, and her brother needed money to study too. The family didn't have enough, so her father and she had to work really hard in Jin City. However, her father's taxi was involved in a car accident and her father was blamed. They were told to pay 80,000 as compensation. 80,000 wasn't enough for her mother's sickness. But the situation just got worse then. Her brother got into a fight with someone and beat them severely, and the person asked for 100,000 as compensation. Her brother was still at the police station while they spoke. Just when she didn't know what to do, her friend from college, Xia Fongfong, found her. They were pretty close, and in that moment of helplessness, her opinion was very important to Su Wei. Xia Fongfong suggested that Su Wei could go to bet stone to the antique street. If she bought a stone with good jade inside, she could become a billionaire. Su Wei listened to this, gathered all the money she had, around 120K, and followed Xia Fongfong to this place. Under the instructions of someone her friend had introduced, her 120K were thrown into the water. In her despair, Su Wei was crying in the toilet when she heard Xia Fongfong's conversation with someone else. The person was telling Xia Fongfong that her classmate was too poor and the money she had was too little, that it was a waste of her time. It was then when Su Wei realized that Xia Fongfong was conspiring with someone to cheat her. Su Wei was sad. She had nothing else left. She wanted to find Xia Fongfong, but she had been looking for a few days, and she was nowhere to be seen. Her mother was running out of money at the hospital, and her brother was still counting on her for the bail money. Su Wei knew no one in Jean City and couldn't borrow from anyone either. In her sadness, she had only left to cry there. Yi Emo heard this and shook his head. She could even scam her friend. What else was she capable of doing? Xia Fongfong's character was undoubtedly a big load of trash. How much money do you have left? Yi Emo thought and asked. 200 left, Su Wei sniffed and said. He knew Su Wei was strong-willed and had great self-esteem, so he didn't want to lend her money. It would put a lot of pressure on her. Su Wei, if you trust me, take your 200 and come bet stone with me. Yi Emo smiled. He felt it wasn't easy to make that sullen girl go back to her happy self. Su Wei was the first person he had known here. She looked at him and said, Yi Emo, I only have 200. How could I bet? Yi Emo smiled. 200 means that there are 200 ways of betting. Follow me. Yi Emo took Su Wei into the crowd. He scanned their surroundings. The cheapest was $500, but they were all empty. Chapter 619. Betting on Garbage. Chapter 619. Betting on Garbage. Yi Emo took Su Wei to a middle-aged man sitting on some rocks. Looking at his gambling addict look, Yi Emo was speechless. No matter how rich you were, if you didn't know how to bet on these rocks, you would lose everything. Betting rocks was very exciting, but also very brutally realistic. When you bet, everyone comes to watch you, but when you lose, no one pities you, and they just leave to watch the next person. When you win, however, people envy you. In fact, perhaps those people who bet rocks enjoy those envious and shocking looks the most. Yi Emo walked over and patted the man's shoulder. Friend, are these pebbles yours? Can you sell one to me? The man looked at Yi Emo in confusion. These are waste rocks that I opened up. Why do you want them? If you want one, just take it. Thank you. But I don't like taking people's things for free. How about this? I'll buy one for $200. Then Yi Emo signaled Su Wei to give her last 200 to this man. In the eyes of this man, $200 wasn't even something he would bother picking up from the ground. But he understood that betting rocks always needed to involve an exchange. He didn't think much of it and nodded. Then he stood up. All right, I must try one last time. If I still lose, then I'll stop today. Yi Emo picked up a pebble, which he had scanned before. There was some green jade inside, but it was small, and thus the man didn't find it. This sort of thing probably happened often. Unless you had spirit sense, you would never be able to find out. Seeing Yi Emo buy a pebble for $200, everyone shook their head. If it wasn't for the fact that that middle-aged man was so well off, people would have thought that Yi Emo was conspiring with that middle-aged man to trick Su-wei. Su-wei looked at Yi Mo's stone worriedly. "Yi Mo, is this stone useful?" "Of course, open it." Yi Mo took the stone to the place meant for opening stones. "Who can help me open this stone?" Yi Mo said, and everyone just looked at him. No one wanted to reply. Who would want to open a useless rock? There were certain customs to the gambling, one of which said that if you opened a rock and it contained jade, it made you lucky. However, Yi Mo looked ferocious and didn't seem like a good person. What if he blamed the stone being empty on you? "Brother, you don't need to open this stone. There's nothing inside for sure. I, on the other hand, found a top grade, or this time for sure. It's black on the outside. There must be something good inside. I just found it. Watch me open it later," the middle-aged man said. Yi Mo looked at the stone he was pointing at and knew it was an empty one again. He pointed at a fresh-looking rock and said, "You might as well buy that one. There's something inside there. The one you're pointing at is empty, and the other one is much cheaper too, being only 100K. The middle-aged man had helped him, so he helped him back. But as soon as Yi Mo said this, there was ridicule all around. Even Su-wei pulled Yi Mo back a bit. "Brother, are you okay? That one doesn't even have a shell. It's clearly a new rock. If it wasn't that it's so big, it wouldn't even be able to sell for 100K. Brother, you're even worse than me in looking at rocks." The middle-aged man shook his head. Yi Mo smiled and didn't say anything else. He took out the $200 pebble and asked, "Who can help me open this? I will pay you $500. I'll do it as long as you keep your word." A shabby-looking man walked over. No one was surprised when this man came out. Everyone there knew that he was called Huiduokai. He was someone who opened rocks, but since he had never opened a rock with jade for anyone, he was clearly very shabby. Even the boss didn't want to really use him for opening rocks. There was a rule in the business that if you opened a rock and found jade, as the person who opened it, you would get a tip. Yi Mo didn't care about the man's supposed lack of luck, but in order to definitely grasp this opportunity, Huiduokai actually said, "Don't worry, my technique is top grade." Okay, open it then. "No need to ask me anything until you get all the jade out," Yi Mo said. Huiduokai took the rock from Yi Mo's hand and immediately began to work, fearing that Yi Mo would regret. Huiduokai didn't fully realize what Yi Mo's words implied, but everyone else did. This knife scar guy was pretty cruel, wasn't he? He was implying that Huiduokai had to keep opening up the rock until there was jade. But what if there was no jade? Some people wanted to remind Huiduokai, but looking at Yi Mo's ferocious look, they didn't want to get into trouble. "Yi Mo, I don't have $500. Su-wei pulled Yi Mo to the side. "Don't worry, you don't need to. Just deduct it from the jade's earnings," Yi Mo said. Huiduokai knew there was going to be nothing in the rock, so he cut right from the middle and didn't even bother cutting it carefully. Yi Mo shook his head. The guy had said his skills were top grade, yet this one slice had already cut a bit of the jade. "Huh, it's green, bright green. It's good stuff." And Huiduokai cut a bit off. "It's an ice-type jade." No one remembered they had laughed at Yi Mo before, as they were all just looking at the jade in Huiduokai's hand. Huiduokai knew that due to his negligence, a bit of the jade had been cut off. He began to sweat. He didn't expect there to really be jade inside. What if the man asked him for compensation? Hurry up and cut it all out. If this happens again, I'll let someone else do it. Yi Mo saw that Huiduokai was dazed, so he reproached him. Yes, boss, this won't happen again." Then he began to carefully take out the jade. He didn't expect Yi Mo to be so easygoing, though. That had been completely his fault. Luckily, he reacted fast and his skills were actually quite good. In a short while, he had completely cut out an ice jade. It really is ice jade. It's very high purity and the green is very dense. A jade like that would be worth almost 200K. That middle-aged man also looked at Yi Mo in shock. Suddenly, he felt that he should have listened to Yi Mo. If Yi-Mo could find jade in his leftovers, he must be extremely capable. I'll take that jade, 200K, a woman said. This was a woman in her early 30s, and she looked not bad, mainly because she knew how to dress well. She looked very seductive, but in a high-class way. She also had a bodyguard by her side. Yi-Mo frowned. He didn't like the smell of the woman. It was all chemical perfume. He didn't like that. He preferred the natural smell from Luoying and Ning Qingxue. 200K? Su Wei was stunned. She had made 200K from $200. This was too easy. Yi-Mo didn't know the worth of this jade and thought it should only be worth that much. So he tossed it to the woman. It's yours, cash or check will do. The woman had seen Yi-Mo frown and thought he wasn't happy with the price. But just when she wanted to say something, Yi-Mo tossed the jade to her as though not even caring if it would break on the ground. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.